There's that. What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Reg and Johnny doing the Best Gaming Podcast number 503. Let me get this video off. That was from the last podcast where we were showing people Assassin's Creed. Appreciate everybody showing up, spreading the word of the podcast. Appreciate Reg showing up. Silver will be back next week. He was feeling ill and told me last night that he was not going to be able to come, especially as late as this is for you guys. I definitely appreciate when everybody can come, but I do get it. We do it every single week, so it's pretty rough for him to continually try to show up and listen to Johnny and I talk about black holes for. He's like, sure that guy wants to die. By the way, if you notice I'm blurry, it's for your safety because I'm an ugly bitch. So what we've done is we put a blur camera on me. I'm just joking.
That's what they do for porn. They do a lower quality on purpose, so you don't see all the. Yeah.
Humans aren't ready for porn.
The lens is well.
Oh yeah, glazed. We let's be honest here.
Come on, man.
Nobody's ready. Nobody's ready for 4K porn, man. No human is set up for that yet. But I appreciate everybody showing up. We've got some news, good news, bad news, some definitely big news for a lot of people if you're sort of expecting console exclusives and shit to stay the same. Buckle up, because it ain't the only one that's switching, and there's going to be some stuff. There's going to be some interesting discussions the next couple weeks. Well, maybe more like, hang on, 6 weeks, I think, before we start getting some stuff from Switch and that kind of thing. See what third-party companies are releasing games there. So if you get a chance, spread the word. Let's begin. First of all, Reg, you're the guest. What have you been playing?
Not much apart from Marvel Rivals.
Still Marvel Rivals. Damn. So who's your main?
Well, still Groot.
Sticking to Groot. Sticking to Groot.
What's his role? Is he like a tank?
He's a tank. Yeah, tank/support. So he can build up walls that can heal himself and, well, also interrupt the enemy and do extra damage. So one mistake that people do is put up a wall between yourself or your DPS and the enemy. That's not good, because you're just interrupting your own team. You should put them to the side of the enemy, because then the walls do extra damage.
Oh, damn. Oh. Funnel them.
Can you go small? Small Groot?
You cannot go small Groot.
Okay.
You can only go that Groot.
Oh, you can't. Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, that would be amazing if you could, go small Groot, just nut shots the entire time.
The second one is Rocket. That's the second pick I go for, because he's also more of a support and can do some healing without having to aim properly, which is good for me. Just overall fun
you just to play.
Overall shoot in the direction of where your people are, and then it heals them, everyone who's in range.
What about you, Johnny? Sorry, taking care of my dogs.
So I've been playing a little bit of No Man's Sky. They came out with a new content, like a big content patch called Worlds 2, which is, as it sounds, a second part, of that, which is creating a lot of different planets that they're adding. In this one, they have a bunch of like gas giants, which, not to get like too technically, actually, but if they were gas giants, they wouldn't have a surface technically, but you can land on them and stuff, and they have some crazy visual effects and like storms and stuff going on. They also have huge underwater biomes, like kilometers deep, that you can explore and build stuff in, which is pretty cool. And lots of quality of life since last time I played. New stations, like the actual space stations. They have new ones. So yeah.
So they put you can land on a gas giant?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, they're just big ass planets. That's really what it is. They're just like 10 times bigger or something. So you will sometimes enter a system and you will see like normal planets, and then it's this gargantuan planet, which is a great word, by the way, should be used more often. And then you can go into it, and it's awesome. Yeah, some of the effects, really, really cool.
That's interesting they chose because, yeah, I mean, it'd just be a sludge. But I'm fine with that, you know. What did they say?
Yeah.
They're adding, like, it adds, like, a million, trillion, billion. I think once you get into, like,
I
thousands,
got
it's too
lost.
many. But
Yeah,
once
yeah.
I think they said,
Trillion
like,
planets.
yeah, it's a trillion planets or something that they added,
Yeah.
and then a million stars or something
At that
crazy
point,
like that.
like, I can take your word for it. You know what I mean? It's not like we're gonna check the
And
trillion.
it's Sean's word. He could have just added one
It's
planet.
Sean's. Yeah.
Find out Sean is just like,
Sean!
we've added trillions and millions of planets and blah blah blah, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I just believe him. And then you look, somebody data mines it, and they're like, dude, there's one extra planet here. It's like, damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna probably jump back in. What about the graphics? Okay, so let me ask you something. Every single time I see a No Man's Sky trailer, I feel like they're playing on a PC that doesn't exist on this world, and a game version that doesn't. Because except for this last one, there were some issues with LOD I noticed in their trailer. They've shown stuff that is suspiciously cleaner than the image quality you can get a lot of times when you're playing the game. And there's been times where I see the update and I'm like, oh, I'm going to jump in. And then I jump in. I'm like, this doesn't look anything. And mine's maxed. You know, it's not like there's another setting out there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's pretty representative of some of their videos? Because some of their videos seem to almost have the LOD set out way farther than a person can.
Yeah.
Or
to be charitable, I would say they are cherry picked a lot.
Right.
What
Yeah,
they
makes
show,
sense.
they're
Yeah.
like, you know, the bangers, the banger planets that they've run into. I would say, like, statistically speaking, you're gonna run into less impressive, you know, planets and stuff like that than what they show. But that's also luck of the draw. What I did notice is the pop-in is still pretty bad, even on PC, like max settings, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter like how much you bump it up, you still get a lot of pop-in, especially when going into planets. That's just the tech, you know, it's loading stuff and sometimes it's slow. And when you're flying in a planet and you kind of sprint, right? You kind of just like zoom past stuff. You see a lot of pop-in stuff just coming into existence, in and out of existence.
Yeah.
That's a little bit distracting. But outside of that, yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's a really good chill game. One of my favorite additions recently was the custom difficulty. I don't know if you saw this, Garrick, but you have the ability to like dial in exactly what you want. So like resource collection, you know, do you get more or less resources per mining, or resource requirements? Does stuff maybe require less resources than normal, so you don't have to farm as much? The enemies, do you want a lot, very few? You want them to be strong, weak, all this type of stuff you can dial in perfectly. And if you wanted to do a playthrough which is like no sentinels, you just remove the sentinels, you can do it. You know, if you want to make it more survival, you can do that too. So the customizable mode really fixes a lot of the pain points in the game for me, which is basically the sentinels overall.
Yeah, I did see the difficulty. I think it's awesome that you can choose that. That was, I can't remember what update, but I definitely jumped in and saw that. I think that's great. Combat's still whatever it is, like you said, the Sentinels. You know, whatever that game, whatever they tried to do, it's not working. But when it comes to combat, but yeah, I mean, custom difficulty is cool. There's all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff you can do. I don't know if anybody in chat's playing it, but I know a lot of the people in the Discord are thinking about going back. It's going to be a hard sell because it's such a tight time frame between, like, let's say maybe what we just played plus a couple games coming out, a couple reviews are coming out. You got Kingdom Come coming soon, so it's really hard.
Tight window right now.
Yeah, it is a tight window, but once again, it's a free update. We were joking how many lashes, you know, how much flagellation these guys need to do before we finally are okay with Sean and what he said when it originally got announced. It's like all these free updates.
Yeah.
I think I'm far past the point of like blaming them anymore. It's like whatever happened, it happened.
Yeah,
free updates
so.
are great. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the next one though, because he did state in the update that they were still working on the new one. And even though I think he said something like every time they work on the new one, they get an idea for No Man's Sky. So they like, sort
or
of
they get like a new engine thing they integrate. Yeah.
Asking, by the way, Johnny, there's a little bit of us coming through your headset. I think it's the open backs. Let's see. Rick 3K said he's playing Rivals and Eternal Strands. So I played Eternal Strands. I was going to review it. I was actually pretty excited to review that game. I had what can only be considered to be some of the worst crashes I've ever had on a PC game in a long time. Sure, they're going to patch it. I'm not too worried about that because most people didn't suffer it, but I did regardless, went back and forth on different drivers. I liked what I played. It's definitely got a WoW style feel to it, so that's what I've been playing. I was, well, trying to play because I was trying to play it to get it in. I think the review was like yesterday, the day before. And yeah, it's one of those games where they try to have you do different magics and you can do crazy stuff like freeze a giant's leg so he can't move his leg anymore so you can climb him easier. You know, all the sort of, I guess, organic gameplay stuff. The problem that I was experiencing even prior to the crash, and I don't know if other reviewers experienced this, but when I was playing it, man, there were times where I couldn't tell where the effect was on the ground. So like there'd be fire and it did the oddest thing I've ever seen. It would light up the grass. It would sort of change the grass's color to orange, but there'd be no fire in a lot of locations. So you were sitting there going, "Can I walk there? Can I not walk there? Can I, is this impact me?" I'm sure the longer you play, the more you'll understand that, which it's on me because I just didn't get to play it that much. I enjoyed generically what I played, but it felt like one of those titles that like it would have probably done better in a month that didn't see you staring down the barrel of these other titles, you know? I mean, just like Resistance was that way, Sniper Resistance, both of those games, they're Game Pass, which is great, but it's, I mean, even if we talk about people who don't even like Kingdom Come, you're going to have that dominating the news cycle, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
people bitching, people liking it. It doesn't matter. It's just going to dominate the cycle. So I did want to put out that Eternal Strands, what I played seemed pretty good. I was enjoying what I played, but just having one hell of a crash and just could not continue it. So ended up having to put it down, unfortunately. Ran really well. Other than that, it ran at a solid 120 frames and then 0 completely. So, hey, it's a good mix. Let's see what else I've been playing. Kingdom Come for review. That one we've had for a long time, which is always nice getting one for a great deal of time. It's going to be exciting to see what people think of that. Doing some stuff on the side for a couple companies, and then Avowed codes went out, so a bunch of us are doing Avowed for review. Let's see, what else? Sniper Resistance, I played a little bit co-op last night, but that game's just buggy, man. I mean, it's just buggy. My character model flipped upside down and was hanging from the ladder upside down. There was just all kinds of really buggy things. Has anybody in chat played it? And Johnny, you got it. Did you play it much?
I played it a bit today only. So I played like the first mission,
Mm-hmm.
and I was messing around, testing out different strategies. What happens if I do this, right? What happens if I go loud versus going super quiet and stuff.
Any bugs?
Yeah, no, I didn't have any bugs. Like some stuff definitely behaved a bit weird, like how people die sometimes and like the physics and stuff. It was a little bit janky, but overall it was nothing really to report on. It's just the
Good.
first mission. So
Good.
overall, yeah, still on track. I agree with what you said though. They really didn't introduce the character at all. It's like
Yeah,
it's
dude.
the placeholder of characters.
Yeah.
Like,
it is quite literally he shows up, and as I joked in the review, I'm like, it's like the cousin of the Hawk Tuah girl. He's like, I'm Harry Hawker, and then he just starts, and you're all, okay. Do we care at all about this guy? And I don't mean do we care like I just mean who is it? Like, why am I here? Oh, he's some badass, and they forget to even really tell you in the game that you're a badass. You're just sort of there. He is a multiplayer character skin that you've been able to choose in other games. So I think they hinged on that. But you know how sometimes you get those side games that feel lean? That's the way the production is. It's like the cutscenes are sort of pretty short. The introductions to things fairly short. The way they do some of the voice seems a little off. Like DLC, but not DLC. or an expansion. I guess you would say, I wouldn't say a DLC because there's a lot of missions, but I would say an expansion that is sort of not an expansion at the same time. Reg, did you ever do the sniper games? Did you even like them? Did you ever? No, not for you.
No, not my kind of game.
Not even cracking Hitler's nuts at 300 yards. You don't want to take some. You don't want to take a couple shots. Okay.
Nah, more Wolfenstein if you're going for that.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, because one of your favorite games of all time was Wolfenstein Youngblood, right?
No.
Oh man,
so.
Blast from the past on that one, man. So real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a couple of the questions because in the past we have missed Twitter questions and stuff like that. That's on me because we get in here talking and I forget. It happens. So I'm going to read some of these early and see if we can get through some of them. Let's see here. I had them. Where the hell did they go? There we go. Enzo says, if you could put one character from one franchise into another, who would it be and why? For example, Kratos in Cyberpunk 2077. Okay. I think, honestly, Tomb Raider and Uncharted would be sort of weird. I think it would be interesting to see Lara show up and have Nathan, like, trying to hit on her, and she's like, dude, come on, man. Come on. You're, like, 25 years older than me. And frankly, they're both murderers now that I think about it. So I guess
they
maybe
probably
that would
just compete who can murder more.
They got a kill cams. That would be amazing. They just have a kill counter going up.
Like Legolas and Gimli.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Like saying their number.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Or who can destroy more cultural sites or something.
I like this right here. Do a barrel roll through it and smash it. Yeah. That would probably be mine. Has there ever been a game you guys have played where you were like, maybe there's a mix in mythologies where you thought it would be cool to see this character in that or that character in this? Even if it's like a Diablo game, like taking a character from Kratos and Diablo would be sweet as fuck.
I always thought that Final Fantasies would be good for that. If you had a character from a prior show in a new one, like imagine if, I don't know, just take a liked character and maybe they do a little cameo in Final Fantasy 15, for example, where they play a secondary role and they show up as maybe a mentor or maybe as a...
From what game, though, would they come from?
So like from a prior
like
Final Fantasy
9 into...
Yeah.
What? Oh, I see. Okay. I got you. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if you cared about Final Fantasy. I don't even know if that's cool. I'd like.
You don't care enough to know if you would care.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. There's been 4 that I've really liked though, so I guess that's more than most. What about you, Reg? Any like overarching mythologies and stuff? It's an odd question. If you don't have an answer, it's fine. It's just one of those ones.
No. I mean, especially since in Path of Exile 2, I pretty much got that recently with like Inca stuff and some futuristic stuff all mixed in.
All mixed into one. Yeah. Those games are good for that, I think. I mean, there's a lot of characters you could take from these third-person games, throw them into Diablo or Path of Exile, and it would work quite well. Let's see. Ransom asks, what's your stickiest game?
All right.
Here we go. Here we go. Red Light District. What's your stickiest game of all time? For me, Skyrim and Elden Ring come to mind. Cliche, I know, but more recently, Forza Motorsport keeps me coming back. Okay, so makes you keep coming back.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of not an easy answer of one that I just go back to, but one that like really. Knights of the Old Republic online. Yeah, that'd be mine. I've replayed the stories enough times that I think that would be a DC Universe online. Wouldn't you guys say for you guys it might be a WoW slash?
No, I was gonna say Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
So the Elder Scrolls Online was one I returned to quite often.
Yes. True.
But even that's now been a good long while, so I would probably more say RimWorld. That's one I return to from time to time, just randomly.
Were you a Dwarf Fortress fan, Rich?
I never really got into that.
Okay.
I like the idea of it, but I think I just got scared off and never really tried.
Yeah. I get scared of the graphics. I don't know if I could
Yeah.
handle those graphics for very long.
I mean, they did release the Steam version, which has some graphics,
Some
real
graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
those
League,
are all
of
good
course.
choices.
You
And
know,
League
is a sticky.
Yeah, League's sticky wicket. Goat says, do you guys have any goals for 2025 gaming related or unrelated? My gaming one is to try and not play every game. I'm consistently looking ahead for the next game instead of enjoying what I'm currently playing. Oh, I see. So it's not just about cash. It's like legitimately enjoying. And I totally understand. That is like a huge issue. 2025 goals. Oh, man. What's not a goal in 2025? That's not a joke either. What, like 2025, what's a goal?
Yeah.
What's one goal in 2025? Jesus. I would say to reduce tech
for gaming,
for me.
Or, sorry, are we
He
saying
said
in
gaming
general?
or otherwise. He said gaming or otherwise. Yeah. Could be life stuff. Mine's reduce tech. We joke about how many tablets we have or how many PCs or we have leftover SSDs. Like I have like 20 of those 100 gigabyte, from different builds. Mine is to like do a house cleaning kind of thing. Deep, like go in and find and just donate. Like we donate all the time and we're still not even close to ahead of where I need to be. And I like to it's time to like shirk off some of that shit, and sort of get down to not basics, but a little less stuff would be sort of nice. That would be one of mine. What about you, Reg? You were doing some computer stuff. I don't know if you can talk about it, but you were
okay. There's endless stuff.
It's not a goal. It's just life now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the team I joined recently has some very ambitious plans, so we'll see. Yeah, but smaller plans, more realistic plans is just putting up my stuff that I took with me from Japan, building it together, actually putting up on shelves, etc. It's still right next to me, pretty much in a heap instead.
You and I've talked about this, about teams disintegrating. And that would be a goal, I would say, is that any project I work on now, if I hit the disintegration phase, in the past, I had so many projects. So if a disintegration phase happened, something people fell out, I'd be like, okay, that's no worries. I got to think on my feet. I'm going on the next. I think a goal in 2025 for me, for sure, is to at least pick one of those to just continue to try to either rebuild it with new people or what have you. It could be as small as like a group in the Discord that we plan on doing. Again, you know how it is. You're like, oh, we want to play. I was talking to you and you were doing D&D when I DM'd you a couple days ago. It's like you try to do D&D and it goes for 3 weeks. And then somebody's like, I got to, I have a pizza party for my kid. And suddenly it's 6 months later and you haven't played. Those are the kind of things I'm trying to fix this year, for sure.
Right.
Trying to keep things in place. It's very difficult too. If you have a lot of stuff planned, how many times have you guys been like, oh, that's okay, I have something else, and then that other thing that you had planned never comes back, and you're like, oh.
And then it's like 5 months later, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something going on?
Wasn't there something? And then no one remembers. There were times I've talked to Absy about projects, and especially when we're working a bunch before he got his job, and you'd work on 6 projects, and Absy is definitely a focus on a thing and then sort of move on. So I was sort of patterning after him, which is fine. That's actually good for me to learn how to deal with that. But we'd go back to one and we'd be like, okay, wait, was this part of this thing, or was it, maybe take better notes would be another one for me. But yeah, those would all be fun. Those are good. We've got pretty good goals, I think. I like the idea of trying to play less. Well. Oh, I thought you already said yours. I apologize.
No worries. My big one is getting back to reading like daily.
Hell yeah.
And I've been doing that, but of course in like smaller amounts. I want to be able to do like, just sit down and read for an hour, with good focus. And for now I'm around like 15 minutes. I can do it with pretty good focus. And then I start to get pretty restless at the moment. So I'm just practicing that, trying to get to more consistent.
when you guys first started the podcast, I think we all talked about this. I used to weirdly hate and absolutely adore when the power or internet would go out because the world would shut off. And I remember one time at my old apartment, they were like, we're going to redo internet here. It's going to be off like Friday night to Saturday morning. And I remember waking up and there was nothing connected. So there's nothing incoming. And it was sort of cool. It was like all the things that you like can bother you they weren't there, you know, and not bother you, but we have a tendency to think everything's important or a lot of stuff that's not important. Even if you're really good at saying, I only do the important things. It's like you start asking them questions and they're like, I was on Twitter for 2 hours this morning. You're like, okay, I don't know. Unless you're a social media marketer, I don't know how important that really is. So
YouTube for me, but the hours fly by and then you're like, okay, what did I do today? Watch a lot of YouTube.
Yep. And dude, have you ever lied to, well, I don't know about you. I'll lie to myself. If I don't have a review coming and like I just did a video, that's my dangerous part. If I did a video, I'm like, I did a video, so I'm going to do something and I'll be all, it's research. And yes, it is. It is because I love tech, but at some point you're like, this is sort of just you watching YouTube that's about games. At that point. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. People in chat, if there's any goals, feel free to write them out. My gamer goal for 2025 is to finally finish Red Dead 2, another sticky game. Wizard Smoke says. Sector says Red Dead 2 and Cyberpunk 2077 are my favorite open worlds. I love getting lost in them. Craig says, yeah, I lost many hours just roaming the world of RDR2. What's up, Sleeve? Ari says, buying a Kindle got me back into reading. It's funny the number of people who say or selling their Kindle got them into reading. You hear both sides. You'll hear people say that the Kindle does not work for them, and I would certainly say there's a difference in how I retain or whatever on a digital screen. But I've heard a lot of people in our chat who are starting to get rid of all their devices for reading and just grabbing a physical book. Maybe it's something to do also with you can see your progress. Otherwise, it's a PDF with a fucking slider that says what page you're on. You know, it's not the same thing as like feeling like you're through it.
There are some advantages. Like, for example, the recent Kindles have a dark mode with like the dark screen instead of being, you know, the normal.
I think you're just talking about with white letters on a black screen, right?
Well, yeah.
That's all I've used all my life.
Okay,
there you go. It's the best way.
It's super nice, and you can have it even with the lights off and everything. So for nighttime reading, I absolutely love it. But there is something about the physical book, like you're saying, you know, turning the page, like you're saying, seeing your progress. Like I'm reading this big tome of like 1,000 pages. And just to look at it and see, God damn, I already read whatever, like, you know, 250. It's pretty cool to see.
Also,
instead of just being a percentage.
I don't know about you guys, but PDFs, I can read a couple pages and then go, what did I read? But on a paper, I have a tendency to not turn the page until I'm done with it. Maybe that's one reason why I retain more. If I didn't get it, I'll go back up and read the paper because it's right there instead of turning the page. Let's see. People are playing. Somebody's playing. I decided to replay Dante's Inferno this week. That was Wizard of Smoke. If you play it now, kind of feels like God of War and Diablo, a mix. Sector says, once I finish Armored Core, what do you guys reckon I should play next? Play Tapeworms right? in My Veins, a game that I found on Steam.
Wait, is that real?
Yes.
Yeah. And I have to go to fucking therapy because that already bothers me alone. And I saw that.
Just a thought. Yeah.
It's disgusting. This is Lansby saying, still playing Enshrouded, still enjoying it. Enshrouded was really good. Did you guys get a chance to dive into Enshrouded at all? That came out around the same time as Pow World. So
yeah, I remember, but I didn't stick long with it.
Didn't stick long
at all.
Did you try it, Johnny?
No, I'm waiting for the full version because they're still in early access.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, the early access thing is sort of a bugger. I always hear people say that like they want a company to do an early access game, and I'm so opposite that.
Everything's early access, so no.
And I've heard so many times, every time I say that, people will say, yeah, but it's great for an early access. And I get that, but I want the full version.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was somebody who wrote something. I was going to read it right before you said something, Johnny.
Mm.
People are saying they prefer physical books versus Kindle. Some prefer Kindle. Hey, there's convenience for both. They're both really good.
Yeah.
Enshrouded announced their 1.0 for spring of 2026. Damn. Well,
Okay.
hey, there's a number.
At least
there.
they got something announced.
They got something announced. Speaking of announcements, there were barely any. And barely any PR for Spider-Man 2. There might be a reason. This is probably Nixie's worst port.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, did you guys see that? It's only mixed, which I'm pretty like in that way it's sort of good that that some people are getting through it, but it's in bad shape, man. It's in bad shape. Like it's weird because it just hit out of the blue. There wasn't a lot of what do you call it? Wasn't a lot of PR around it. There were a couple review codes, and full crashes, huge memory leaks. There was a person who was playing for like 12 minutes, and you just saw it just bloating up, and then it boom, it just did the thing where Windows. Have you guys ever had a program close and there's no? It's just like, that's what it was doing.
Yeah.
It was just playing. It was like gone from the screen. It was like, oh damn. So yeah, this is the thing with Nixies, man. Most of them are good, but that's the problem with a good pattern, right? You're just waiting for that one that just comes in, and you're like, yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
And how many times have you guys heard the story? Oh, it's Nixies, man. They got this. And I'm all, Each one needs to be taken for its own. Like that's how these games work. And this one is rough. And I don't know if you guys remember Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation was pretty goddamn buggy. When they released and then pulled back a patch right when it released, it had all kinds of stuff. Like you could turn into trees and shit. Like it was sort of, and I remember people were swinging through the buildings. So when they patched it, the patch that the 0 day is usually tested by us. Usually we get it, or we get some parts of it, and then they do the 0 day. That one, when the game came live, they patched it, and it just went to shit. That was the one that, like, even John from Digital Foundry was like, what is going on? This is not what was going on in my game. And luckily they fixed it pretty quickly, but I don't know if this one will get fixed quickly. It's got a lot of issues. If anybody in chat has played this game and it's working, I'd like to know. If it's not working, I'd like to know. But I don't know, man. They also dropped the sign-in requirement. I don't know if you guys saw that. PSN is they're dropping that account requirement, but they're adding gifts if you do it. So they're like,
they're trying instead of the carrot.
Yeah.
No, they're giving you the carrot instead of the stick.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I told the guys. A donkey doesn't understand the difference between one carrot and a basket full of carrots. And a lot of gamers will try to moralize stuff, and they'll be like, nom, 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 nom. We don't want any of this, but they get a carrot, and suddenly they're signing up with their account data. So it'll be quite interesting to see how many people want whatever armor they're going to get, whatever item they're going to get when it comes down to it. But it does sound like, at least for some of these upcoming ones, it sounds like they're basically no longer requiring that account.
Interesting.
Which is sort of a switchback too,
Yeah.
Are you guys doing? You guys, if you guys already had systems, so if you had wanted to play Spider-Man, you would have already played it.
Yeah,
you're not going to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's also a great game to replay. I don't know how you guys feel. I thought the first Spider-Man was a more replayable game than the second, because of how the story flowed and everything.
I don't know. I don't really see why it would be more or less. It seems to me that, I mean, there's a lot of activities and stuff. So maybe if you miss some activity, I don't know, because I'm not a Spider-Man fan too much. Right?
It's very subjective, right? It's just like how it feels. We were talking about another game as well that was like a one and done. I think it was Final Fantasy Rebirth, where we were saying,
it was.
Had a great run.
Yeah.
Probably not going to play it again, right? Talking about the PC port. And I think that was a decent port, by the way. I heard good stuff about it.
Did you guys see they're already doing a bunch of mods for it too? Of course, obviously. That only makes sense. Tifa's boobs will get
instantly
even bigger.
Tifa mods.
Everybody will be
I don't
naked.
know if it disappoints me or it impresses me.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. It is impossible if you look at all of humanity to not be both at the same time, right? Because there's so
Right.
many examples of both.
Yeah.
I don't want to play it for long periods of time if somebody's like, Wilt Chamberlain Bush is out there. And that's all I'm seeing is like, crotch and tits. But I do get that somebody I've a lot of the guys and girls actually, weirdly enough, like I think for a lot of people they don't assume this, but want to see something super attractive on screen, so they throw a mod in there. I think that the mods for Skyrim that aren't the big remember it was like CBB or whatever, the mod for the models where you could like make them breastier, bigger butts. I
Yeah.
didn't mind a small adjustment because a lot of game models look sort of rail thin in games, or they have the weird thing where they look rail thin, but they have a rack and it doesn't look feminine or it doesn't look whatever. I don't mind that. But then there's people I've seen streaming like Starfield in our Discord, and they're running some, they're running some modifications. And
I
you're
like
just
big
like,
butts and I cannot lie.
I
mod.
wish it was just that. Dude, one of the guys has a pair of pants that it makes me claustrophobic seeing them because they're so tight. Like you watch the girl run around. If those were guy pants and he took a step, he would instantly give himself a vasectomy.
It's
like
the
they're that
equivalent
tight.
of the Rock, like the shirts he
the
wears.
super small
The t-shirts.
Small shirt. Yeah. So, but I get it. I mean, it's cool to see those kind of mods if that's what you want to do. Also, with Nexus files, they're okay with all nude stuff, right? Nexus files for the most part.
Yeah.
And you just have to sign in to download those. The only thing Nexus files removes is like the one thing I noticed was, didn't they remove things on Hogwarts or something? Maybe it was just because Hogwarts is Hogwarts and people had I feel like I remember a certain mod. Maybe it was turning a guy to a girl. There's some stuff there where I remember Nexus files remove some stuff that was like.
I mean, yeah, they do remove some political stuff.
Political stuff is all they remove. So you
Yeah.
can still.
Well, it's not all they remove.
Got it. Yeah.
Sometimes it pops up and people are outraged again that something got removed.
Yeah. JR says, I'm excited for Stellar Blade PC mods later this year. What do you want for Stellar Blade? I feel like Stellar Blade sexualized enough. I don't mind I'm just saying I think she's very pretty in a game way. I don't know.
And some of the suits, if you wanted to get more sexualized, I mean, dude, you have like a tiny rabbit outfit.
Can I just say I'm not into bestiality, so the idea of a tiny rabbit is in no way, shape, or form something that I would want, but hey, all the power to him. Probably why Hogwarts mods got removed. Oh, did they all get removed? Okay, well, that makes sense. Let's see. PC port, good. Square just needs to add more graphical customization options and some damn ultra-wide support. Yep, as Reg, who's got the ultra big ass monitor wide. What are you at now?
Exactly.
77-1.
Oh, still the same one, whatever it is.
It's
but
30,
yeah, it's one of the curved ones.
Yeah. Hey, what about the bendable one? You saw that at CES? They've got a bendable monitor, and Johnny and I were like,
it should stay in place and exactly as I put it.
Yeah, that seemed like when I saw it, I was all,
What's even the use case? Like, what's the?
I think the main use case is just showing off that you can do it.
That's what I think. That's exactly like the technology of a bendable whatever.
Yeah,
it checks out.
Well, how about this? Do either one of you guys have the bendable phone thing where the phone can open up into like a square?
Nope.
Because it's too.
Don't care about that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that one's weird. I think the bendable one or a curved one. If I wanted curved, I would go with curved, and I don't think my brain would ever want to flatten it. And if I like flat, I don't think I would ever say, well, I'm going to curve it for this game.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no situation where I would want to like change.
Okay. Maybe if you had a racing game and you were like, I'm not getting sick enough of this yet.
Oh my God.
And you stick your head in and then you fold the monitor around your head.
Hey, man. Hey, it takes all kinds. That makes me a little sick to my stomach just thinking about
there you
that.
Go.
Let's see. It's never enough for the internet. Bit says, yeah. By the time the internet's done, though, if he's talking about mods, it's one thing. I thought you were talking about ultra wides because I feel like at some point we're gonna have 1 pixel tall and like 5,000 pixels wide. We're just going to be, everything's going to be squinting.
Well, that's when you have the visors.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need. We look like what is it, Geordi from Star Trek?
Exactly.
Let's see. People seem like for the I'm not hearing or I'm not seeing a lot of people saying that they use a lot of mods. There was a little bit of mod talk. I've definitely spent a ton of time lately looking at mods, but a lot of them are just game. Like I don't try to do the patches anymore. I used to get fan patches, but then when the game patches officially, you're like,
Yeah.
It's almost like if you patch Windows Explorer and then Windows updates and you're like, why is nothing working? It's probably best. Danny Passion Official says, anyone playing Spider-Man 2? I had asked. It doesn't sound like many people are playing that one. I don't even know the sales. Let me look right now and see the Steam concurrent, because this is all that matters is what Steam says.
That's
Steam
true.
Yeah.
Concurrent.
Nothing else matters.
Nothing else.
It's the only stat.
Nothing else matters. Let's see. Let's see what they say. Steam charts. Here we go. 23,000. Not great. It's at 53.7% so it's got the yellow face that what is that, mixed?
The one
right?
that's staring in your soul. Yeah.
The piss poor.
Oh, he is a little bit staring into my soul.
Yeah.
That is true. It's already got 2,000 reviews. Damn. So, well, I don't remember if that's really good for them. It doesn't seem high, but who cares? It's fucking man. Everything about Steam is just a nightmare these days. So maybe that is good. I really haven't seen it. There's probably 1,000 of those YouTubers ready to make videos on it.
Huh.
Dude.
Yeah.
Or if not more. Just people who hear there's a game that's a disaster and they jump in. Oh, hey, did you guys see Multiverse is going to offline mode soon? They're closing that down. What's that? Just means legitimately what it sounds like, right? You'll not be able to connect at all, like the server or whatever's going down for multiplayer.
It's gone bye.
Did you ever try that one? Me neither. Did you, Johnny? Multiverse?
I tried a bit. Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it's not my type of game. The Smash Bros. Style.
Johnny Plays Live, giving you the absolute deets on that game. Loving
But
it, as you can tell. You should go check it out.
I didn't think it was at the point where it would close down. I still thought that, it was trudging by.
Yeah, trudging. There you go.
Like dragging,
under the weight of mediocrity.
Like a 75-year-old. He's kind of like dragging as he walks.
You ever seen a 75-year-old power walker? Those guys are moving. Probably better than this game. The one thing about the games, though, so when things went to digital, everybody's like, man, I hope they don't shut down this game or that game or this game. And a lot of games went longer than I thought, but now we're getting ones that feel like they're closing earlier than we expected. And it's like the future we predicted and tried to fight against is, at least for some of these, is popping up. Because that entire mode being gone reminds me of was it Battleborn? That was the Overwatch. Well, they said it was an Overwatch.
It was the first like hero shooter. They kind of started out that genre, and then the game died out. Well, they claimed, at least back in the day, they were saying
they claimed a lot.
Hey, when they launched the game, they were.
I know. First... I was there. They claimed a lot.
Yeah, they claimed that. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But they definitely called themselves like the first hero shooter, and it was like, oh, we're merging MOBA with shooter.
Remember when they said the Overwatch killer, and you're like, you're gone. You're gone. Yeah. You're out. You're out. You're fucking out. That ball didn't even get pitched yet. Strike. You're out.
And now it
doesn't
dead.
Matter. And now it's dead.
Yeah.
And you can't play the single player in Battleborn either, which I think it was Total Biscuit and I were talking about. I think that was the one that we were both like, this is actually pretty enjoyable. And then they closed it down. You're like, damn it. I love Dylan says, I love Battleborn. They shut it down so quick. Yes, indeed. Love the game says, I modded the shit out of 2077. Thick thighs save lives. Only the highest of the high IQ and greatest of the great
I remember
me here together.
When I was playing Monster Hunter World, there were all these mods that people used, and so many of them were making things large. Boobs large, giant thighs, giant butts, everything large. And there's something about, I don't know, that just speaks to a primal, nobody's making things smaller. It's always just take the slider all the way to the top.
Yep.
I just wanted to interject that.
Okay, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I was going to let you
Yeah,
continue going because this was a fascinating insight.
Yeah,
But you are right. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a lot of games where you see a cod pass or a cod piece reducer, like
Yeah,
where they're
like a flat chest mod.
yeah, flat chest mod. Yeah, we don't see many of those. We don't see.
Ah.
There's big head mode. I think I've only seen one game with small head mode, and that's that. What is that? Frag Punk that came out. I think you can shrink everybody's heads.
The PvP modifications that were always around for in the Underage, etc.
Yeah,
the big head and the small head options.
Big head mode was great, man. Big head mode was. I remember the first time seeing it and just being like, "What the fuck?" But it made sniping much easier. So hey, I was all for it.
True.
So moving on from Spider-Man, big news. Forza Horizon 5. Well, big news for people who like racing games or people who are watching the industry. Forza Horizon 5 this spring/summer is coming to PlayStation, and somehow whatever deal Microsoft worked, whatever devil that they signed this agreement for, got crossplay in, which know it feels like Sony drags their feet on all crossplay. So I don't know, I'm hoping that's just a thing that when these companies start doing these systems, whether it be PC, PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, whatever, they all do crossplay. So the idea that you would be able to jump in and play that with that many more people is awesome. Because Forza Horizon 5 is really good. It's got a bunch of people playing. So the idea of being able to jump back in with a whole other group, sort of like Sea of Thieves, all those kind of things, it's exciting for me. It is a port, though. It's not them. So hopefully we don't get a Spider-Man 2 and we get more of that would be the one
and
thing.
I want to say you predicted this technically because we spoke about like Forza being on the PS5 sometime not too long ago. You mentioned it like, hey, don't be surprised if we end up seeing Forza or something.
And I just want to point out that for sure was just a prediction.
Unless
and a guess. It was 100% not any other data other than a guess.
Famous leaker.
Yeah. No. Never letting that kind of stuff out again. When it comes to what we will be seeing, just guessing. But well, I can say what I did here. Last February or prior, we talked about it already on this podcast, but I had heard Hellblade for sure. That's what I had heard back then even. And then Halo back then, as well as this game. But the big one that I still think is probably the thing that's going to impact gamers the most, there's a reason why, but I think impact how we all feel about stuff the most is Switch 2 and the third-party support from Microsoft, Ubisoft. You got to look no further than the recent interview from Phil Spencer, man. They said, hey, Starfield, you want to lock this down and say it's not coming to anything? No, I do not. And you're like, okay. So we now know where things are going. He also said some other stuff, though, that was quite interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this interview, but he stated in the future and then said buy to stream. Now, he doesn't mess up very often and not correct himself. There have been rumors for the last 6 to 8 months that they are working on some severe fixes behind the scenes for the xCloud, which I would assume not only is what they want to do when they've got their own streaming devices, but also when it comes down to improvements for Fire Stick, these other places, TVs, where you're putting xCloud on. Everything's an Xbox. So it would be nice to see their controller that was supposedly going to connect directly to the internet and not go through your computer now that technology seems to have been shuttled onto just whatever's going on behind the scenes on the cloud. So I would love to see improvements there because honestly, man, when you play GeForce and then you play xCloud, the difference is it's not even a difference. It feels like it's 10 years behind, and they're the ones who started it. So to me, that's what's even more interesting is they're behind. And I think he said it twice where you're like, okay, so that's in the back of his brain to to get on top of that, which is cool. But indie also coming. You know, pretty much everybody knew indie was coming, and then it was finally announced. I think that Switch 2, PlayStation is a little more nebulous, but I do think that we are in such a weird time, man, right now, where you are seeing people. Did you guys see that PC just obliterated console in sales now? Like I mean, everything switched and sort of reverted to where people are just going wherever they can get stuff, and if they can get things in the most places, that's where they're going. A lot of these companies are just looking at it going, this is all lost cash if we don't release it in as many places as possible. So you have to decide, you know, where you want to put it, and do you want to eat that cash? Square says we're not going to be exclusive anymore, we're going to date everybody. I mean,
and from Sony's perspective, surely it's just a win, right, to get these Xbox games running on their system. Or do you think they view it with trepidation? Maybe they're thinking that it dilutes their brand or something.
I don't think it's that, but I would say as a developer, if I had a racing game on the PlayStation and then Forza was coming, and let's say I had a racing game planned, I might look at it and go, oh, darn. Like, you know, like competition that maybe you don't want from a big...
The playing field is now...
But for Sony or whatever, they get 30% of the sales. Microsoft gets 70%. I think that's the status quo there. So they make a little bit of money. Microsoft makes way more. Microsoft can then say the next game's exclusive for a year on this system. You know, they get to sort of decide what they're doing. The big thing also is, this is the one thing that does surprise me. We have some games coming that are 8 devs. 8. That's not a multi-port game. There's no people to do the multi-port version of that game because there's not enough. So you are going to have to wait for some, sheerly by the amount of people working on the game, you know, and how you go about that. And then you have to look at the cost of the port. But we're getting to a point now where if you look at Sea of Thieves, it did really well. Grounded has done spectacular, which is weird. I don't know about you guys. I can't get into Grounded. I've tried.
I like it a lot. I did like it quite a lot. Yeah.
Did like it quite a lot? What is that? What do you mean by
I
that?
played through it. Yeah, I played the whole
single
thing,
player.
and I did like it.
Okay.
Oh, it was a co-op, but it had like a story, you know, that you progressed and you kind of like finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just feels to me like, I mean, and all the stuff that I'm hearing is that, yeah, we are looking what I think when the power went out, we did the big, because at that time the rumors hit and I didn't have the internet, couldn't do any videos. So we had a big powwow for like 2 8-hour days in our Discord where I basically just told everything I'd heard to some people. And there was about 16 of us. And I was like, okay, you guys now know what I know. Let's see what's come true. And it seems like everything has, except for what we're looking at for the Switch 2. And we got to see what they're going to do. But
and Phil said, right, he exchanged some emails. He slid into the email of the CEO.
Do you think that Phil just emailed Nintendo when they're getting ready to release a system of one of the most popular systems? Do you think that Phil just emailed? Phil's got a plane. Phil knows where Japan is.
What?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Japan's not the Bermuda Triangle. You can bet your ass. Yeah. Come on. Right. And Ubisoft's the same way. The last thing I was told was I believe there were 4 and then 2 or 3 that are coming. That in particular, there's 1 or 2 that I'm wondering about that I haven't heard about. But it's like I would love to see a Division 2 on Switch 2. I don't know if I'd play it, but I play it everywhere else. So I'd probably play it there if I got to Switch 2. I mean, that's just sort of the way it is. You know what I'd love to see Ubisoft do, man? Roll their accounts into one. Because goddamn, it's tiring playing an Xbox version, then jumping to the PC and having to restart. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing, right? I guess
safe transfer. Some cloud saves that are actually cross-platform.
Yeah. Weren't there some MMOs, guys, back in the day that were hitting console and PC where if you did, you could do
Final
that?
Fantasy 14. Yeah,
okay.
Does that.
Yeah. They probably will. Square's losing too much money with these exclusivity deals. Yeah, game development, I think, has just gone high enough that it matters. But it'll be pretty cool. I think the reason why I'm excited for this, guys, is I'm a huge fan of Forza Horizon. So the more people playing it, more excited I am. To me, that's awesome. I loved it. Did you do Horizon 5 with us, Reg, or was it 4? Because we played a little bit one of them. We joined up in groups. I feel like that wasn't 5. I feel like that
I
was
think
4.
it was
Which one was
4.
the one with the long ass tutorial?
It was, and it had like the Lego stuff and the
Lego's in 5. I mean, Lego might also be in 4. But the one that Reg is talking about is the one that had the giant long tutorial that I think you couldn't even do multiplayer until you got
With the
through
yeah,
it.
that's 4.
Is that 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 4 that you played with us. Okay.
Oh.
It's probably one of the few racing games that my casual friends play too. You know, people who aren't super into racing will enjoy jumping into. But it's cool to see. It is a port. I don't know that port company. I haven't looked. I saw their name, but I haven't really looked at their history. But it feels like that game's pretty robust now. Robert says Forza Horizon 3, 4, and 5 are great. Division 2 DLC looks awesome. It was delayed again. I can't wait to see it. It'd be nice to actually get some Division 2 stuff. Division's having its issues. Games are cheaper on PC by a wide margin. That's why. I wish it was only that. But that is one thing. But it is not the only. I would love for xCloud to be improved. I think everybody would. Starfield and Halo coming to PS5. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be a fun year. I will say this: it's going to be fun for everybody who doesn't care about exclusives. It's going to be, if you like games, it's going to be awesome. If you like a particular piece of plastic, any of the pieces of plastic, you may be in for some pretty serious surprises this year.
Yeah,
it's going to be wild. Has any of you guys checked out the streaming services like xCloud or GeForce on your TVs? Am I the only one who's checked those out currently out of us, where it's the TV app? Okay.
Oh,
yeah, I
TV
haven't
app? No,
checked
I
those
don't
out.
have that on mine.
Oh,
No.
don't have it? Yeah, this new one on mine, I was really surprised, stunned at how well it worked. But I have a Samsung, which means in a month, that OS is going to be slow again. I swear to God, their OS is for their TV suck balls. Let's see. Bep says, to think that Sony lobbied hard against Activision deal and argued MS to make everything exclusive, and now everything is an Xbox, apparently. Well, yeah. Hey, I may dislike Jim Ryan, but if his entire job was to throw a wrench in somebody else's business, which sometimes as a competitor you're supposed to do, he did an excellent job at throwing a bunch of wrenches in that shit. I'm just happy more people will become fans of games I love. That's all that matters to me. Make it less toxic to talk about games again. Dude, let's do it. Let's give each other just all this big hug. Put your hips into it first. Give each other a warm hug right now, a warm game hug. Dave Steven says, when SteamOS officially releases, I will build a new gaming rig. Yeah, cannot wait to do that as well and have everything be incompatible. It's going to be awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not touching any of that shit until somebody tells me like 99.999% of stuff is compatible.
I am happy for where it is on the Steam Deck, but no, as a main system,
Nope.
Or maybe I guess a dual boot or something to that effect. But like the idea of same things going on with the Legion, the Lenovo Legion. They have one version that's like Steam Deck only, and I'm all not for me. Not until, especially because Reg and I are always talking about like hacking a game. You go into the INI file and you do stuff, and there's all this. You can go online, grab an executable for something. You can go do this. You can merge this and that. I want that still because I mess around with all of that kind of stuff. So I sort of want that kind of compatibility, and that's going to take a while. Carl of RNG Podcast says, take me in your arms, ACG. You're in my arms right now. You should feel that warmth near your hip down there. B1G Duck says, he also threw a bunch of wrenches in Sony with 12 live service games. Don't you wish you could only blame it on him? Because he is not the only one who did that. Some of those were in place prior. Doom. Oh, by the way, let's talk about the live service games. I don't know if you guys saw they had canceled a bunch of these and moved some around. But here's the problem. Let's say they started last year. That's still 3 years. That's still 3 years of development until we get those games. That sort of sucks. So that means, like, let's say one of the good developers was doing a service game and they stopped last January 1st. Generally, what is 4 years safe for a big game development time?
Right.
So
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Depends
8.
on how big. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends
Probably
on how
by
big.
now, 4
Yeah.
plus.
So they've been set back for their next game in a way by
Yeah.
canceling that.
Yeah. Warpig is giving you some kudos on your size, Johnny. He says, "God damn, Johnny, your headset looks huge."
You know, they are huge, and I have big ears.
Did you mod them to be bigger, or were they already that big?
No, I legit, they're just giant. Yeah, that's it.
They're just giant. Okay. Well,
Unapologetically
unapologetically swollen. Danny from Passion Official, $2 super chat. Thank you very much. PS5 has only one exclusive. Everything else is on PC. I haven't tracked that, but you do have to wait. Time is an exclusive, and time is important. I've heard people say things like, "Why would I get this or why would I get that?" If there is a timed exclusive, there is something very much about wanting to jump into it day and date, and I'm all for that if that's what the person wants.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to hear your take about the interview with Spencer. He was saying we want to compete on like system capabilities too. So, you know, we want the games to be everywhere, right? We want to open it up multi-platform. We don't want the reason you buy an Xbox to be the game in a way. What I understood was they wanted to compete on its own capability and be attractive as a system. Did I understand that correctly? Do you think that's his
You
focus?
understood that completely correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. I would.
What do you think would be, do you see something there where the Xbox has like a key capability right now that's really attractive?
Current one?
Yeah. Or maybe future that you could see? Kind of impossible question. Sorry.
No,
I'm
it's not
asking about the
impossible.
future.
I'm just okay. You know how you guys all have. Let's talk about it. Let's talk at a roundabout because there's NDAs on some stuff. Let's say we're all going to go get a phone, and you look at your price point for the phone, and one phone has a higher res and more memory and more blah blah blah, so it'll perform better on certain things. When you look at the Android in particular, that's not really a great service to Android users because most games don't require much. And you get a game and you're like, okay, this is, let's say, 2K or 4K. You're all, well, it's a 5-inch screen. Not going to matter as much. What you will see is the OEM device standard where you do see, it won't be like a GPU difference where you see a slightly upscale. What you could envision is a fairly sizable difference between cell phones being the replication you see in consoles, where there is a reason to get one because of the specifications being a great deal higher, or the hardware inside of it being a great deal larger when it comes to, let's say, your NVMe, I always call it that, but your M2 memory, whatever. When do we even call that? It's M2 is the slot. I always call it NVMe, but you guys know what I mean. By the way, the developer we just talked to, where we're doing a preview for their video game, I was asking them about consoles, and this was quite interesting. We had a huge discussion about it yesterday. The biggest gap between these last systems and the last 2 gens and this one and these future ones has been eclipsed, and that was the memory. Basically go into PCIe. They were saying the SSDs, the hard drives, everything else was getting faster. GPUs, the bandwidth, everything. And it was all about the storage space being slow and not being able to use it in many ways developers have wanted. And that was a huge boon to developers when the console-based platforms had this, and we notice it too, not just on boot, which is this goofy thing, which is like my system boots faster with NVMe. It's the fact that things load quicker. Dude, Starfield loads so fast I can't read the fucking hint.
Yeah,
like
true.
It pops up and it'll be like, if you want to go to Atlas, fuck. So, and he was saying that was a huge boon to them at the base level, being just like the Xbox original having a hard drive. You'd hear developers go, oh my God, having a drive is such a big deal. There's all these things you can do. But I would assume we'll see some improvements coming up for, Microsoft has stated they'll have the most powerful system. But what does powerful mean in hardware?
Yeah.
It could mean ray tracing performance. It could mean, except, yeah, it could mean some other stuff. Jay Reaper, $5 super chat. Games. Jay speaking my language. That's all you have to do. Bep says, I don't know who got the bright fucking idea to put Blue Point of all devs on a God of War multiplayer game. But at least we now know what they're working on, which is a Bloodborne remake for PS6, probably.
100%. Yeah.
Oh my God, would you guys knock it off? Dude, take your love for Bloodborne and shove it down. And down.
I mean, by now there's an emulator that can play that 60. So.
By now, yeah, and they took off the friggin', did you see that? He got a DMCA today. Sony struck him today and demanded he remove it. But guess what, guys?
Well, yeah.
It's the internet.
It's very unsurprising. But
it's unsurprising, but it's the internet. It's out, right?
Yeah,
it's out,
true.
And so, by the way,
floating.
Guys, if you see a Discord message that says, hey, guys, do you want the Bloodborne 60 FPS patch? Click this executable. Do not click that fucking executable.
Yeah.
That is going to be malware so quickly, and hopefully nobody's listening to me and comes up with that idea. But you know what I mean. Chancetius, $5 super chat. What's up, buddy? He says, happy Friday, guys. You guys podcast pairs well with my pina colada margarita. I look forward to this every Friday.
Okay.
Damn. I feel like we'd make you really sleepy. Rev says, not now, but if their next console is an absolute powerhouse, has access to Steam and other launchers along with their rumored handheld and Game Pass, that would sound compelling. Speaking of Android phones, the latest Snapdragon chips are powerful. They've even got RPC S3 running decently. Did you guys see any of that with the Snapdragons? Looks like they are pretty good. Can I just say, I think that's awesome that the emulator runs well, but I never assume that really means anything other than the emulator runs well, because games are all over the place. But I do appreciate what he's saying. Reg, you have the Steam Deck, and that's it, right?
Correct.
No Windows hand. Okay. My Legion will run the 360 emulator native insanely well, and to me that's crazy that I was able to beat Red Dead on it. And I mean, it's old though. Obviously, 360 is ancient. I'm just saying that, but it doesn't mean that thing can run a current Cyberpunk insanely well. Bep also says, or maybe they do a handheld console that slots into a high-end dock, like what people wanted from Nintendo for ages. Oh, I see what. Oh.
I thought the idea there was interesting of having like Steam and maybe other launchers. Do you think it would be possible to allow for Steam games to so if you own a game on Steam and that game exists on Xbox, maybe you can link it somehow?
Do you know what's stopping them? Them. Yes.
Like Microsoft?
Well, yeah. I mean, or whomever, and Attitude. I mean, Ubisoft was not on Steam for the longest period of time. They finally,
Because Steam would love it, right? Steam would just...
Oh, of course, Steam would love it.
Dude.
Steam... What are you talking about? Yeah. Steam's just of course.
Take me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the idea of what we're going into, but it is also going to be fragmented. Because these guys haven't tried it. It looks like I have with apps on your TVs are doing it. Fire Stick's got it. You have all these different places. The real thing is, I hope we have a baseline experience that they aim for, if that makes sense. That's the one thing I'm worried about is you start getting other hardware. You start getting crazy stuff and you have a baseline experience on some hardware that's cheaper that runs like shit or some, that's the only thing I don't like the idea of. But it's onto the consumer, right? I think we are moving a lot of this onto the consumer instead of, which I'm not saying is good. I'm just saying I feel like, especially Windows handhelds, for instance. You get a Windows handheld and you got to really watch what you're getting because it may be like a current console where the hard drive is really small and now you're loading from a fucking flash card, Might as well just, at that point, give up. KSKS says, if a PS5 Pro is $800, it's a powerful next-gen Xbox going to be. Broke-ass console gamers ain't going to buy it. Broke-ass console gamers. Dude. I feel like as a PC owner, if something's $800 in my system, I'm replacing the entire system. The only time I've ever done more than... That's not broke-ass console gamers. That's $800 fucking dollars. That's a lot of
Yeah.
money. That's a lot of money to anybody. What do you guys think of new console? Let's do this. Xbox Series XXL decides to get announced. What do you guys think? Do you think it's under the Pro's price? Especially with TMC's issues now with the chip makers and all these tariffs? Or do you guys think we're looking at like $1,200?
Oh my god.
No,
600,
I think it,
5, 6?
I think it gotta be below the Pro price.
I think so too. The Pro price is what's the like? It's just
Preposterous.
it's. There we go. I was trying to be slightly nice. Yeah, that it's
Fever dream,
fever dream.
madness.
Yeah, yeah. The Pro. Did you get? Neither one of you guys got a Pro, right?
Nah,
No.
Especially.
I already don't turn on the regular one, so no.
Oh, true. I think with the Pro also, Reg, when you look at it, I mean, I'm very generally, I mean, I'm fairly happy with the console that we have for those prices. Yeah. So when you go to whatever, I want that difference to be noticeable right away. And
tangible.
And remember you heard people saying things like, oh man, it's going to run everything at 60 or whatever. And you're like, dude, come on, man. It's not. It's not. And Pisser's great. I love the idea of, that kind of upscaling stuff. It's just getting smarter and smarter.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. Moving on to...
Unfortunate acronym.
Or fortunate, because it's a naming convention that does cause people to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
It's better than saying... with... or... So, Reg, DLSS4. Have you tried it yet?
No. I don't. No.
It's so good.
I don't even know if it works for the previous cards.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can even use DLSS Swapper and swap them in. Cyberpunk's the one I tested it on. Man, does it really, it's a totally different model that's doing completely different adjustments, and it's awesome, man. It is really cool. But unfortunately, as always these days, it feels like there's only a couple games that really show it right away. And one of those is a game that I just do not want to turn on very often, which is Cyberpunk. It's like, I feel like Cyberpunk is the tech example game. And man, if there's a game in there that I just do not want to turn on again, it's, so you're like.
Did you notice like the latency? Because I know you mentioned they're fixing it with the,
this is
what's it called?
I'm not doing the frame gen on this one. I'm just doing the upscaling.
Okay.
And it cleans up the picture. It's, you can also, here's the crazy thing. This is not a joke. I cannot believe you can do this. You can legitimately turn the frigging version of DLSS down a full 1 to 2 notches and get a picture that looks better than where you were. So if you ran it at ultra DLSS or whatever it is in Cyberpunk, I think it's maybe quality. You can turn that thing down to balanced at minimum, if not even another one, and get a picture that looks as good. And so what's happening is, because of the speed, the extra rendering speed you're getting from running at the low, you don't notice that huge, the latency is actually going down for one reason, going up for the other, and you get a nice medium ground. Is it perfect? No, because everything you do post-process is going to add some latency, but I'm just impressed as shit in the quality that we were getting. Like that to me is fantastic. But not the frame gen. The frame gen, they've got a new version of latency, whatever they call it. What do they call it?
Yeah.
Reflex.
Yeah,
they've got Reflex.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a new version of that. I haven't checked that. Norb says, yes, performance looks almost as good as DLSS quality in most games. Yeah. If anybody else has examples of games, I would love to hear. I'm not saying I want to diss on anything, but if you have examples where you didn't get a return when you tried the new DLSS, I'd like to know as well. But from the testers I've talked to, from the people I've talked to, it is a massive step up in quality with just almost no negative. It's just like, this is just a much better version.
Just better tech.
Flexing Mecha says, check out Hogwarts Legacy. It was a noticeable improvement. It was. There was one little issue I noticed in Hogwarts. That was one game I did also test it on. I noticed some weird, there was a couple places where there was shimmering where I hadn't seen it before. But overall, the picture quality was dramatically improved on that game too. Dragon's Dogma 2.
He thought he had one on you. but you've already tested it. You even knew like,
Yeah,
"Bitch,
Hogwarts,
please,
I
I know
forgot.
about the shimmer."
Yeah, no. Soulskeeper 249. I'm doing my part. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
DLSS is the future. Let's hope it's not the only part of the future. We don't want upscaling being the only part. I was telling these guys, if you get FSR and you get a JPEG and then you run FSR on FSR and then DLSS on FSR, you can get a JPEG to look like a movie. I think that at some point there's diminishing returns, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though, man. Really happy. KK,
like just ship one file, just one JPEG, and the rest is done by
the
AI.
rest is done, man. Almost like the old demo scene where you had to get a game running under 64 kilobytes. It's just like, here's your entire game.
One AI is transforming it into a 3D model. Another one is doing a story to it. Another one is then creating the animation. Game is gonna take like 3 hours to launch, but there you go.
It's models all the way down.
Do you know what's weird though? As a test, we are close to being able to somewhat do that. Like, do you get my, like, I'm not saying play a playable game, but get it, this AI that does this AI that does this. Start with a JPEG, make a 3D model, leave whatever it makes, then put that in and say, what does this look like? What is a story you would tell me around this 3D model? ChatGPT looks at the model and says, it's a hero who's blah, blah, blah. Then you take that and put it into whatever one of the dozen AI programs that you guys
Give
are
me a
all
soundtrack.
Using. Give me a soundtrack. Give me a soundtrack. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Both Ghost of Tsushima and Indiana Jones seem to have worse ghosting with DLSS upscaling than DLSS 3. So there you go. There's two. Ghost, I wouldn't doubt, though, now that I think about it, because that one is a swimmy game anyway. With it's just particles everywhere in that game. It'd be hard to not notice if there were any issues. But
yeah.
Let's see. DLSS now makes lowering to ultra performance seem like I'm closer to native resolution in comparison to previous versions. Flexi Mecha. So here's the thing. Run a game at 180p.
180?
180. Yeah.
Okay.
Or 280.
Okay.
So upscale times 16. What do you get? What? No, wait a minute. Wouldn't be. So you get 480. What's the one below 480? 360. What's below 360? What's an integer that works below 3? I don't even remember these old numbers. Can you imagine what that?
No, I'm not sure.
265? I don't know.
265, and see what it would look like. I would like to see what an upscaler looks like at like one of those postage stamp, because you could go and improve old videos too. That's one of the issues I've had is like when you go watch an old video you used to love and you see it and you're like, were my eyes not as good back then? Because why does this look like dog shit? 240. Yeah, there we go. 144p right now to save data. Powder Cake says he's watching us. Trust me, 144, that's the highest resolution.
Oh, on YouTube? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for images, it's there, man. I was using a bunch that upscale thing you recommended me.
That software I showed you?
Yeah, and dude, I'm getting like a 200p, 240p image from like League of Legends, and it blows it up to like 4K. Yeah. And it looks great.
Have you ever checked this one, Reg? It's called, what is that one called? Is it called?
It's upscale, but it's written a bit weird.
SKYL. It's free.
Yeah.
Nope. Awesome. No, I only know the Giga something. Forgot the other name.
Yeah. Oh, Giga Topaz.
Yeah,
Topaz is Giga. Yeah, Topaz has sort of got the market on some of the, I guess what you'd say, some of the side programs, because they also have the AI upscaler, video upscaler. Topaz has like 6 or 7 of those. They also love to Adobe things and separate each one to its own fucking package. Pieces of shit. I hate that. Soul Sleeper, $6 super chat says, well, I'm colorblind, so this is teal. What color is it to anybody else? That's sort of teal to me too.
That's what I thought. Because I'm a little colorblind, so I was thinking, hold on a second, am I seeing this incorrectly now?
Is it like a greenish blue, but more on the green side? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Just making sure we're seeing the same color, because reality can be different for every person.
Yes. Oh, like the dress where like some people see it red, some people
who are freaks see it off.
Well,
come on. You should have instantly understood that joke. All right. Powder
Yeah.
Cake says it's sea foam turquoise. Come on, guys.
What?
We're not getting that.
This is the type of people, when they wear a pink shirt, they call it salmon instead
Oh,
of
right,
pink.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
true.
salmon.
Salmon.
Yeah. That is
So-
true. That is true.
Own it. It's pink. You like a pink shirt? It's so good.
I feel like you have pink shirts and you're trying to make this, you're
I do.
normalizing pink shirts
No, but
right now.
I'm okay with. I don't
Mhm.
think it's
I'm trying to
so
think.
good.
Oh, hey, I can't say what I was going to say because it's going to sound really weird. Let
go.
me demonstrate something. I was going to say, let me show you something really cool.
Oh damn,
Yeah, it was going to sound.
that's patrons only.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
God.
secret room in the Discord.
That's the after
Secret
show.
dungeon.
Yeah.
So I did end up getting some
Oh,
shells. This one's like a
Oh, cool.
Cthulhu. I also got a D&D one that is fantastic. They're $14 on Amazon. No, I'm not pimping for them. I don't pimp for stuff. I'm not even going to give you guys the full link, but let me check what the name of these are. They were on sale for $14, and Moodski and I were in chat. We found this online, so we ended up buying them. Dude, they snap in like really well. I mean, some amazing designs, and it's much cheaper than buying, the custom.
Oh, so you just buy the
yeah.
plate, like
And of course,
the-
this isn't new. I just wanted to tell you. They're called E-Extreme Custom Shell for Xbox Series, and you have to choose because there's 2 or 3 Xbox designs. But man, these things are amazing. They're actually a cool design overall. Really, really, really dig them. Super smooth too. And they're glossy. Some I've got are sort of dull,
That looks good,
I
yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Hmm.
And there's a D&D one that has like a 40-sided dice being rolled over the numbers that that's what got me to like look at them and go, what the hell are these? They're a big step up in the normal quality. Have you ever guys done shells? I'm doing them because my vision with the cataract surgery makes it difficult to tell super dark stuff in shadow
Ah.
in the real world if I have a bright light. So having like this, whoa. Oh, I thought it was censoring something. It is censoring something. What the hell? It's like, does it
It thinks it's the background.
It thinks it's a vagina or an a-hole.
Well, it does have tentacles,
I know. That's what I
right?
was wondering.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever
You
done?
triggered the tentacle
shells?
detection.
Dude, what if there's a
Uh,
tentacle detector? Go ahead.
No, not shells, but stickers for sure. But
Yeah,
not
me too.
shells.
I didn't
Yeah.
know you could get shells that really get in there well.
Yeah. They get up in that.
They get up in there.
They
Real
work
snug.
They work up in that gap. Okay, now we're just kidding. But
That's
Right.
it's Friday for sure. But
Friday,
anyway,
guys.
what I was trying to say was, yes, they're very cool. I like the color. You guys, you sick-minded freaks. All right.
Getting
It-
up that gap on Friday. Yeah, okay.
By the way, I'm getting corrected. People are saying, actually, they're saying it in that voice too. Salmon is not pink, it's peach. I think you're just coping. I think it's
All
pink.
right, skip. Next.
Dude. I love it that we can turn around and somehow turn it into this. Is it grippy on the underside of the shell or smooth? So this shell is smooth. The back is the normal Xbox back. They do sell Xbox backs, but they're a little bit more difficult to take off. And I just decided not to. These are more for
Yeah.
identifying them because I have shelf with multiple controllers. And some are the Series S, X, and then some are the Xbox
Mhm.
original, which has that odd slight design difference. So having shells makes me able to look from a long ways away and just say, that's the one I want. That's what I want. But I got to tell you guys, I do stickers like Reg does. I'm a big fan of the sticker normally. This was $2 cheaper than the sticker,
Okay.
which
Well,
is why
then, yeah.
I did it. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
with a Moodski and I was like, I'm just going to get a sticker today. And then we saw him and I was like, well, wait a minute. I'll buy one as a
Well,
test.
it's also
And
possibly easier, isn't it? Because the sticker is a bit finicky sometimes.
no, they're quite
But-
easy to put on, but they look so
Okay.
nothing looks like your LED or your OLED will show you because the OLED is displaying lit pixels. So whenever you see a design, it'll look bright.
Yeah.
So you'll see a sticker on a sticker website and it'll look phenomenal. You'll be like, oh my God, I want that for my
Mhm.
Xbox. And then you buy it and you put it on, and you're like, what the fuck? This looks terrible. And that's because it's not emitting light. So these are the closest. And yeah, I've been really happy with them. My wife hates the texture on the back of the Xbox controllers. I mean, she sit there and rub them all day. Well,
I was gonna say, what
I
kind
mean,
of contact is she having with the?
no harm, no foul. I'm just saying, I don't know how. Like, anyway, whatever. The Crystal OG Xbox was awesome. I had the old Xbox original green ones, the ones that look like Mountain Dew almost. Not the Mountain Dew ones, but the actual, like, they had that odd green. Microsoft liked to go weird. You guys remember the original Duke controller had the big X in the center? And it didn't even, it wasn't even an LED. It was just a big plastic X. And you're like, dude, you guys are trying to make...
That was some design. Bold. Very bold.
Bold. It was like, it was so weird. It was almost like they were projecting a little bit.
Yeah, the Elite has the grippy, like, sides
on the
there
edges. Yeah.
That are super nice too, if you like grippy.
So, let me show you the other thing I got. Now, you're going to judge me. I've talked about this thing. I've talked about this device before. I'm not lying when I say it is my new favorite device for the PC by a landslide. I'm not saying it is cheap, but I've owned it for a long time. Got to make sure it's unplugged so I can not hit a button and fucking close the stream. God damn it. Unplug USB devices. There we go. We talked about this before. Let's see if it... Have you guys seen this thing? Which is the So it's called the Cyborg 2, and it's a left-hand analog. It's got a left hand, so you can move with a thumbstick and then aim with your mouse like normal. But it's got all these are buttons: up, down, left, right, in. These are buttons. Okay. These are buttons. Dude, I've had this for a while. I tried a little bit and liked it, and I was like, I don't know. It got stuck in a shelf. About a week ago, I grabbed it, and I was like, you know what? I have nothing to do today. I'm going to plug it in and try to teach myself. I am fucking never going back. It is the greatest. Its software is so easy. It's literally just like reprogramming something, just be like AW, SD or whatever. For the analog stick shows up as a 360 stick. You can do all the buttons, your menu, inventory, all that kind of, you can do macros. Problem is, I didn't realize how expensive it was. So I got this years ago, and it's still like in the 150 area. So I'm certainly not telling people they should buy it. In fact, I feel like I got it free. I didn't. I bought it, but I mean, I feel like I got it free because I found it in a box. So I didn't have to spend any extra money. I'd already spent it. Guys, I'm telling you, man, I had been messing with hybrid controls anyway in games that let you use the mouse and thumbstick, and have been enjoying occasionally messing around. And then you guys have the Wooting keyboard. I switched. I got rid of that one, and I went with Klorg, or I can't remember. It's a weird name. Really happy with that. But I was like, oh, I'll just go with keyboards. And then when I was looking, I remembered I had this and grabbed it. I'm telling you, it is hard to describe how much better it is to use this, because every button is there. I never have to touch any button. Recording for GeForce is on there. Like direction pad stuff is on there. It's got analog and digital movement that's on there. It's got 3 profiles. So if you do have a game that you wanted to switch profile, like League of Legends, you could quite literally just press a button and switch that profile instantly and play that hero with their own buttons if they require different buttons, that kind of stuff. It's pretty phenomenal hardware, man. But I got to tell you, all this shit's expensive. Like, I don't think that's worth. In all honesty, if I saw this, I think the closest approximation is a Razer device that's $79. And it has normal buttons, not these, but it's got a thumbstick. And it's $79. And I think $79's probably okay, because that's basically a controller. But what do you guys think for devices like this? Like, what's a device that you would see that is sort of experimental? What's a price? Like that would
the Razer-like one you said, I do have that as well.
Okay.
Wow.
And you say you have it, but it doesn't sound like maybe you use it.
I don't use it for games, no.
Oh, do you use it for, like, you could use
programs,
it for editing?
Quick access. Yeah.
I see. And it helps. It helps with those, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one was $79. So that seems worth it. What about you, Johnny? Like, is there a certain price for this kind of stuff that you might look at something and say, I'm going to go ahead and test this out?
I think it's so specific that it can have a higher price. I think like $100 would be okay if it's good quality. But it also has to have a reason. So for that one, do you think it's like accessibility where it just like makes things super easy and convenient?
Well, let me
Or
tell
is
you a
it
couple
more?
things it does that surprises
Yeah.
me. I'll tell you the name at the end because I'm not pimping for this. I just don't believe in that shit. And I don't think it's worth it for the price. The first thing is the analog stick lets you adjust the angle, meaning wherever you rest your hand, you can choose what forward is. It's not forward on the gamepad. So if you're holding a gamepad weird, you might hit forward, but it's not forward because you're holding it weird. This one lets you adjust that, which is very nice. So I can sit back, adjust it, and that way, whatever way my thumb feels comfortable generally pushing forward is forward because I choose it. When it comes to accessibility, yes, but Johnny, it's just the fact that you don't even have to move your fingers to press any other keys or even look, which is really nice. And I can see why Reg uses his for programming because that's almost why I got the Razer, because it's got numbers as normal. It's got basically macros. I think it's 12 or 18 macros. And they can just be letters. But for editing in Premiere, it would be a massive boon to be able to use that and just be like tap, 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 because the buttons are closer than a keyboard's is. So those are helpful. But the other thing is just it feels and plays more naturally than WASD on my keyboards. Now, Reg has analog buttons, I believe, on his keyboard, right? So you could
can enable them, yeah.
You can enable them. So if you chose to walk at different speeds with your keyboard, you have that ability, right? Okay.
Correct.
So that is one nice thing about this is the ability to have WASD on the same thing if I do choose digital, but at the same time do the analog stick and then go ahead and move analog. And in games that I'm playing and games I've been playing, it has turned out to be far more comfortable. I can sit in whatever. I mean, there's times where I'll be talking to you guys in Discord and I've got my feet and it's nice to not have to have the entire keyboard. Now it's just it's just a smaller footprint. Overall, it's a really good system that's just too expensive. I think that's one of the problems that we're running into these days is just everything's so expensive for people. It's not that's not a normal gamer's thing. And controllers aren't either, man. It's like $49 for the cheaper ones. Power A is $29, I guess. But what's a normal controller now? Like an Xbox Gennaro controller's $59? Or is it 16?
70-ish, I think.
70-ish?
No.
And then what's the Elite? 110 or 120, I think. I think the Elite.
Yeah, it's around 100 if you buy just the basic version that doesn't come with any accessories or things.
Yeah,
But let's be honest, I mean, you need the different like elements, like the different accessories to make use of it. So you pretty much have to buy the full version, which is I think 150.
Yeah. In chat, what do you guys think for the cost of something that's experimental like that? Like, what would you guys choose when it comes to it? Because I think that's the big thing. Like, you guys are talking about your Wooting keyboards and stuff, and we always talk about it, but then you see the price on them, and you have somebody who's like, listen, I have a membrane keyboard. How much improvement am I going to get?
True.
And I still use my membrane keyboard all the time. So it's hard to know. What's the Woots now? What are they, like, 149
plus? No.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I think around 150. There are different versions and stuff, but around that, I think.
Yeah, 210 is the German version of the Wooting.
Okay.
Damn. What's good about the Elite when the bumpers break, which they do, you can replace it out of warranty for 70. I can't tell if that's a joke. You're saying it's
just so you
good?
know,
Go ahead.
The warranty covers it like included. So I had to change a bumper, and I think it's 3 years. You can just send it and they'll change it for you. You don't have to pay.
But when he's saying it's good that it only costs 70, doesn't 70 seem high?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I didn't pay
controller.
70. I didn't pay anything.
Okay.
Under the warranty just got replaced. Now, does it suck that the bumpers break on some of these? Yes, absolutely. But at least you do have the warranty, and I'm pretty sure you don't have to pay unless it's different in a different country. That could be too. I'm in the UK.
Yeah. Basically the best place ever. Alp says
Best.
Power A makes great controllers. They do. Kel says if they want to pay me 50, I'll give it a try. Beb says I still can't tell what it is. Trust me, it's weird. It's weird. Thomas, 80 euros max. Alp says I'll spend 80 to 120 on a keyboard that I use every day.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I will tell you this. I did notice a big difference with the Wu-Ting.
I think I just had a good keyboard prior.
Yeah.
I had, or a generally acceptable one that wasn't like,
So the jump
the
is
$9
pretty
one.
small comparatively.
Well, and I also didn't like something about how they worked. I don't know. There was something about them that I just wasn't a huge fan for the cost. I think because the one that I got that replaced it was 120, I think, versus whatever I had paid for the Woot, which was like, yeah, I think it was over 200. And I was like, that's a lot of money to spend on a keyboard. I mean, technically, to a lot of people, 50 is a lot to spend on a keyboard. If it types, to a lot of people, I think that's a keyboard.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, I do also have on this room where I'm currently. I also have a membrane keyboard because I got one that sort of felt like a mechanical, so good enough.
Yeah. And the great thing also is the quietness of them. You have a spouse or something in the room and you're clickety clack.
And I had just burned too much money constantly spilling stuff on those keyboards and then ruining them. I was like, okay, that's it. Membrane time. It's time.
Well, that's because you have like gigantic mugs, Reg. Every time I see you with like that's a normal water bottle, but like sometimes you'll have these just giant mugs of indistinct juices.
Yeah, I just think that the cost of the peripherals is really high for a lot of people. So, like when I do talk about these, that's one of the reasons why, just so people know, the reason why I am talking about shells and stuff is because I'm trying to save you a couple bucks. I mean, if I see PlayStation selling a Spiderman shelled PlayStation, and I'm like, it doesn't play faster.
No.
So like some of those things are, I get it. People want to collect stuff, but
maybe, I mean, Spider-Man does have red suit, and red does
go faster.
Does go faster, so.
That's true. That is true. I would use 2 of those glove things for Accordion Hero. Accordion Hero? If that's not a thing, it needs to be a thing. It probably is a thing. No. You could Guitar Hero though. You could use it for guitar. Holy shit! Give me 1 second, dude.
Oh.
You could use it for Guitar Hero. What the hell? That would work. You know what? I never thought about that. That would 1, 2. Holy shit. Okay. Anyway.
Your brain would explode thinking of like all the directions for each finger and everything.
No, that's what I thought too. The up, down, and in, it came, I would say it took me about an hour. There'll be the occasional time when I don't play for a while and I'll come back and be like, but it's usually not a primary letter that I'm having that memory issue with. It'll be like one of the side letters, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool devices out there. I'm seeing a lot of the adjusted. I also saw one that was a mini keyboard on the left, and it's just a keyboard, right? But it's got way more buttons than normal, and all of the F1 keys in this weird like semicircle around it. And then it moved a space bar, it added a space bar to it. So it's like sort of, I think a lot of these probably came about during like people Premiere editing and then turned into like gamer stuff. So you see them sold with like, the extreme tag on them, but in real life, it's probably just for editing. Might be good for you guys.
I mean, yeah, I do have one specific one for like editing and graphics programs as well. Like,
yes, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
I have that one. So it's pretty much the same thing, which is crazy because these are like, especially if it's a normal USB board, they're not expensive to get. So you can definitely improve editing or music making. Assign some dials, or if you just want to sit back and watch some porn, you can you can seek with it. Be like
one favorite clip.
Zoom in,
dude. Yeah, like one favorite clip. You're like, why is this one dial really rubbed down on this one?
Slow mo. Yeah,
slow mo. I porn in slow mo, that disturbs the shit out of me. Alp says I haven't been able to ditch the number pad. Yeah, I saw some people saying a couple days ago that they don't.
For sure. Also,
numpads, and
Yeah.
You got rid of yours?
No, I need it.
Me too. Dude, if I see one without a numpad, I get
fuck the shortened keyboards. I can't.
Yeah. Oh, that's I like how you knock shit. But that's how aggressive I feel. I got like an 85% and it had no numpad and I didn't think about
That's
it.
what I'm using now. I'm trying to move away from the number pad.
No,
Yeah.
then you are hampering yourself and becoming a lesser person.
Yep, no.
Dude, I'm telling you.
I got a test for that keyboard. I don't need to run around with my keyboard. It should have all the buttons.
Yeah. So Johnny, what causes you to assume that the real estate gone is worth the lack of all that functionality and really being a lesser person by not having the numpad?
Just in general, a worse person.
Yeah. Is it more space? Because when you're playing your game.
Just wanted like a cleaner, have a bit more space, easier to move around the keyboard. The one I had before was really big, so it kind of occupied, my entire space. And when I wanted to like move it back to do some other stuff, it was so big that still took up a lot of the space. And I wasn't using it that much. I really only use it when I'm doing my
music,
like my budgeting and stuff like that, where I put in some numbers and stuff. And admittedly, that has been pretty annoying to do without the numpad.
So you mean to have to hunt and peck on the
Yes. Yeah. So it's still a process. Also, I think Wu-Tang didn't have a full version full with numpad. I could be wrong, but this was the bigger that I found in my area.
I do have the full version with everything.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like either Reg would have not bought it or bought an extension or something that had a numpad on it, because that's what I would have done. If I found a design in the future, I would get one. Go ahead, sorry.
At the time I was looking, I think it was still we're in the production phase of the full-sized one, and I was like, okay, we'll just wait for that.
Yeah, we'll just wait for it.
I'm not getting the mini version.
Yeah. And then Johnny, you've been asked multiple times about your headphones, so let's just go ahead. What are those headphones? They're open back?
No, they're closed back.
They're closed back.
They are Hi-Fi Man Edition XS. So I'll write it in chat if people want to look it up. And the cool thing with these is that they are currently at a really good price, and they are really good for both music and games. So if you want something that's a little bit like, high fidelity, not full on super posh or anything, but really good. You can really hear music and all the different frequencies and stuff. It's really good for the price. I think it was around $200, but search it up because it's kind of changing all the time. But it's sort of comparable to other much more expensive ones based on the research that I was doing. And they turned out to be great. They're also massive, as you can see. So they have the benefit that they are completely around your ears. There's no pressing of ears, which was a big problem for me as someone with big Dumbo ears. Headsets usually give me a lot of pressure.
Do you mind doing me a favor? You don't have to, but could you show me the inner ear pad on those?
Yeah.
Or show them the inner ear pad so people understand. Okay, gotcha.
So they are, I guess, like semi-open. Sorry. They are a little bit open, but not full-on open backs.
Yeah.
Kind of like a midway.
I feel like I suddenly got cataracts again for just a second. Okay, there we go. Back to normal. Soul Sleeper says, went with Audi's Maxwell's last month. Yeah, had to return them. I was having all kinds of issues with those. I don't think that technology is ready for what I want to put it through right now. Bitlerist says, I have big ears and glasses, and it's rough. Yeah, Reg, glasses bother you? Having glasses, do you feel them on certain?
If I'm like sitting for a really long time with the same headphones, then it starts pressing down and hurting.
I the only thing that I've ever had a real issue with is the Audio Technica, and they that is one. Yeah. I'm not in, no matter what, I couldn't get them comfortable for very long. And they also, I swear, they had ratcheted up the torsion on the sides of my ear. It was like they were just tighter as a band. And you'd put them on, and it wouldn't take very long before. It was not necessarily the heat. It was almost a migraine, or almost like a muscle ache in your ear, where you're like, "Oh, right, this is going to be uncomfortable for a particular amount of time." Which is why, these, even though they're cheaper, it's nice because they fit my giant dome. Well, I actually don't have a big head. Well, at least physically. But when it comes to the headsets, though, I think the big thing is it's like if you're going to be sitting for a long period of time using them, extra money is worth it. If if I actually think comfort for most of my stuff is much more important than like audio quality, even though and that's because audio quality gets pretty questionable when we start, where it's like, oh, this one hits this a little bit better than this one. It's like if it's uncomfortable to wear, it won't matter to you. At some point, you're going to be like, I fucking hate this thing, Sometimes I use 3M Peltor Bluetooth shop headphones. I don't know if that is good or bad, but it sounds like bad, right? Isn't 3M the tape company? I think 3M
Bluetooth
is like,
it's always going to be dodgy.
Yeah, except the new ones I got were pretty good for Bluetooth. First time ever.
Oh, yeah?
One time. Yeah, I've got one headset Bluetooth that I wouldn't mind for about 80% of the time. I was pretty surprised. Probably some music you might, Bluetooth's so tight on its bandwidth, you start to notice. Especially, guys, I cannot believe I didn't think about this, but we were having issues with some people's headsets in Discord. We have a lot of issues with headsets in Discord when you get a bunch of people. But in particular, when people would talk for a while, shit would get weird for them, and it would start sounding weird. And it dawned on me that the buffer was just getting eaten up by talking and hearing us. So when everybody was talking, and then they were talking, all of a sudden, people in particular with the Bluetooth headphones were like, man, shit's getting really crunchy or weird. And everybody else who was plugged in would be like, I don't hear anything. There would be but it dawned on me, if you've got it cranked up, the bit rate in your chat cranked up, and somebody's talking as well, you're eating up a good amount of bit rate just going back and forth. And Bluetooth in particular seems to be susceptible. Cheese's Crust says, yeah, used to have Audio Technicas, and it was great for about an hour until my glasses smudged into my head. What's up, Lewiston? Good evening to you. Alp says, I have nice Sens, open back 2, and earbuds. Options are best. Yep. Yeah. What about open back versus closed back? I see this all the time. I'm gonna be honest, man. I think I'm more disturbed when I play with open back, so I like closed back for the most part, as long as they breathe. I guess that would be my end result. What about you guys? Are you open or closed?
Mostly closed, so simply because I want to, isolate myself from any noise.
Yeah. Are you a active noise canceling fan if you have earbuds too?
Yeah, if they support it, then I enable it.
Okay, gotcha. What about you, Johnny? Open, closed, semi-open, like you got?
I like open because also a lot of the times I'm speaking. So if I'm streaming or recording something, it's a bit more natural for me to hear myself too, because I usually have monitoring so I can hear me through the mic just to check that my audio level's good, my enunciation and everything, right? But if I have closed backs, it's much more unnatural to me to hear myself.
Because it's quieter.
In a way. Not just that, but I hear just a digital version. But at least this, I hear like in part, I hear myself in the room, plus the monitoring from the mic. So it kind of sounds like a bit more natural. And I feel a bit more like I'm in the room. I can hear my cat screaming at me because he wants food. Just kind of feels a bit more comfortable and open.
I can hear quite well through these, but what I have noticed is in voice chat, these are some Turtle Beach. I don't even know the number. I think they're like Stealth 300s or something. And the only reason I use them is because they have a mic that you flip up and down, that's definitely advantageous if you're trying to talk and you flip it up, you're yelling at the dogs versus like having to hit a button like I do when I'm with you guys. It's a terrible mic, by the way. Horrendous.
Some of those are so bad, aren't they?
No, I can't even describe how bad it is. It is horrendous, but they also isolate my voice so much that I'll be in chat and have to like turn the mic down because I'll notice that I'm like your volume is going up because you're accustomed to hearing yourself through these, or I am.
Yeah.
And so I talk to the level of these, and then pretty soon I'm like, man, that's really loud, because they are so enclosed. But I like closed just because I think the sound reproduction is a little bit more enjoyable. I think semi-closed are really cool. The idea of getting a little bit of bass, a little bit of a return on your base. Anyway, that's why I don't even know why we jumped to headphones and hardware, but there you go. We'll just call that hardware bits. There you go. So you got some suggestions for shells, keyboards. What else do we talk about? Weird spidery controllers and headsets. All right, moving on from there. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, did you guys see this where Mass Effect devs, they thinned out the development team and stated that Mass Effect 5 isn't in the place of full production where they need the entire teams. So they've basically thinned that production group down. Some people, it sounds like, were laid off. And so it's a smaller team. And when I read this, I don't know if you guys have read the sort of alert that they did when they told everybody, but it sounds like a soft reboot to me. Because that should have been in some mid-production by now. Like, not pre, you know what I mean? Like, somewhere where they
full fat production, like
full fat pro. But it sounded like a soft reboot because it's like we're not there yet. We don't need all these people, so we're moving some were laid off. But if you guys didn't read it, it's fine because I just brought that up randomly.
I did see that.
Yeah,
they were saying it's on rails, right? They were saying like the project is progressing and stuff.
Well, they did, but everywhere you guys know this. You guys are soft. Most of the time, you have a pretty. I would say for almost every project in the world, you know where your ramp up is, and if you're ramped up and then ramp back down. Maybe you guys have done that before, and maybe I just haven't because you guys have done software development. Is there?
Yeah, I don't know. Usually, just at least I only know it if you're in full swing, and then you realize, oh, well, we actually need to go back to the drawing board because we fucked up somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Man, I know you guys aren't as big. I'm just a huge Mass Effect fan, so
I'm a huge fan too. I didn't like Andromeda that much.
Did anybody?
I'm still in it. Yeah.
I'm still. Dude, I'll be for another Dragon Age. I don't care. Just because I didn't love this last one, I don't care. If they announced another one and they did a game that I liked, I'd play the hell of it. I don't think the idea of like wanting them gone or whatever is weird to me. But it does sound like a soft reboot. I don't know anybody in chat if you guys have read that. If you guys see something I don't, I certainly feel like they had announced that long enough ago, even though I know that there was a CGI trailer and they said that's all that was there, all that kind of stuff. It feels like that was at least a year ago, which usually by now you would sort of be into some kind of development. I don't want to second guess them because I don't know, but the laying off of people, it sounds like, is like, are we gonna, are we rolling back?
That doesn't seem normal.
No, it doesn't seem normal. It's also fine. Shit happens. Like you have no clue how these things roll out, but let's see. Now, this just announced 13 minutes ago. Dragon Age isn't dead because it's yours now. Ex-BioWare writer tells fans worried for the series' future following layoffs that weren't called layoffs. This is from VG247. Following the layoffs that weren't called layoffs by EA and BioWare in the company's announcement, which released about the release Dragon Age Veilguard, one of the game's writers has shared a message for fans concerned. Cheryl Chi was one of the ex-BioWare staff moved over to Motive as part of the changes BioWare general manager made. BioWare general manager Gary wrote, it was a more agile-focused studio that produces unforgettable RPGs, which is why they did this. And this person says, BioWare isn't dead. There's FIC. There's art. This is what the person says on Twitter. DA isn't dead. There's FIC. There's art. I don't know what FIC means. There's the connections we made through the games and because of the games. Technically, EA or BioWare owns the IP, but you can't own an idea no matter how much they want to. DA isn't dead because it's yours now.
FIC, if it's that, then it's fiction, especially fan fiction.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sounds to yeah. Sounds like a redo. That sucks. Damn it. Just trying to see if there's more data on this. I mean, maybe they're restructuring so they can do Jade Empire too.
Definitely. Yeah.
For sure.
What if that's what they were? Oh man. No, it doesn't appear like that's what they're doing. Just so you know, I just went to check. It's not what they're doing. What else do we got? Johnny, you had some topics in the.
Yeah,
in the
I
Discord
saw
chat?
that. Let me look at that. Basically, in Japan, banks. Let me go to that. So, here we go. Banks in Japan are like actually blocking adult games in Steam from being purchased. So you guys know how, like, we have a huge amount of games coming out all the time on Steam,
Right.
and actually a big portion of them are like tagged as adult, and also a big number from that are full-on hentai.
Okay.
And yet they are now being blocked in Japan. So you actually like can't buy them because banks are just not allowing that. I don't know exactly technically how they are blocking stuff, like at the bank level. But that's what I was reading, that basically people aren't able to buy a lot of these adult games anymore in Japan.
What's up, Mike? So what does that mean for, because Japan developers make some of them.
Yeah.
So, but the banks themselves are saying, why? Because it's considered porn, I guess? Or something. I thought, so porn's okay if it's censored, right? In Japan.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what would be going on in those then that would make this is David says, I thought it was Visa that was blocked. Why would Visa block? Wow.
I don't know. I didn't, in the article I read, they didn't mention a specific bank or company.
Okay, I don't know. It sounds a bit different than the other way around.
Oh.
Lawmakers have received reports that banks are preventing Japanese developers from accessing the revenue.
No shit.
So the article I read was in PC Gamer, and it says banks in Japan are blocking Steam payments for sex games, leaving Japanese adult game devs cut off from income.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, Powder just said something. The same as stuff that has happened in the past with OnlyFans. Dude, we are in a weird world where like they can just stop the developers' payments. Go ahead.
If the game in question is for adult audiences, their remittances from abroad are rejected by Japanese banks, meaning they are unable to receive the profits.
And apparently 1 in 20 Steam games released are tagged as hentai.
Additionally, Japanese companies who deal with adult games are being prevented from opening bank accounts.
Huh.
Okay. Let's parse this for a second. So here's the thing that's bothering me in the West. America, not you guys, like not Western nation, but so we have the current stuff where we're trying to make sure that like minors don't sign into OnlyFans. That's one thing, and into Pornhub. That's one set.
That's also happening Europe-wide. Yep.
Okay. Then we have a connected but slightly separate one where some states here, remember we have the state and federal, some states are banning Pornhub. They're like, you can't get there. They're trying to put in blocks, all that kind of stuff, or they're banning it outright. I don't know how that really would work, but they're trying to do that. Now, that stops the buyer from seeing something somebody's created. It doesn't stop the creator from getting the money, which did happen in the past. This is stopping the creator from getting money of valid games that are on. Okay, this is what scares me, guys, is if somebody just arbitrary. This is why whenever I hear somebody be like, oh, it's only happening here, it's only happening there, it's obviously not. There's like these weird things that are happening, especially monetarily. It happened to me with crypto, where some banks in America were like, we don't want. So like if you have like money come in and they find out it's from Coinbase, they can be like, well, we don't want you to be able to do that, right? So how does that person how would somebody in Japan get around that? Are they able to? Or are they? Is
That's
that
what I don't
person
know.
who
I
made
don't
the
know
game?
if you could like buy some Steam wallet credit and maybe use it that way.
I feel like Steam would almost want to make sure that you got paid at this point.
Right.
I mean, because they're not. Well, they're probably holding the money somewhere, so they're probably getting interest on it. Who knows? Maybe Steam doesn't want it, but I would assume Steam would want those creators, right, to be able to get because they want you to make your other game. I mean, and they've accepted adult stuff. They just have it behind all those restrictions, right? Or the like sign-ins and all that kind of stuff. They have adult only. I feel like that's set up fairly safely. The rest is on the consumer.
I mean, as I'm just reading a recap, take it all with a grain of salt.
Right.
But from what they're writing here, it seems to be that the banks are apparently more or less afraid of being judged under a Japanese Act on Prevention of Transfer of Criminal Proceeds and the Foreign Exchange and Foreign Trade Act. Since there is no clear law regulation, it's basically up to the banks to apply the restrictions. And so they're like, okay, we're not going to mess with that. Just fuck them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sucks. I mean, I'm not saying I like those games. I don't even own a single one. I wanted to buy the Tapeworms in Your Veins one just because that creeps shit out of me. But the thing is like, just because I don't jive with that, the idea of the creator not getting paid randomly sucks balls. I wonder how those guys would get away with it. I suppose that, man, and I bet you there's some big ones. I always see the ones that have like 500 buyers that are really questionable, but I bet you there's got to be ones that have 1 million or something. Right? Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I mean, or the ones that were first or what have you. And then I assume there's ones that have DLC. I'm getting because they can do whatever any normal game can do, right? There isn't a service game that's adult oriented other than Second Life, right? And let's be honest, everybody, Second Life's adult oriented. Let's just.
I mean, there's also a lot of stuff in VR chat.
Oh, there is VR chat. VR chat is one hell of a place. VR. That is.
I feel like I played a very different version of VR chat.
No, it was there
because it's not allowed per the terms in any public instance. But yeah, there
private
is
instances.
Okay,
it's waiting right through that door. It's a
Aries
red door.
Was saying Germany has hentai games banned on Steam.
Probably. I mean, Germany also loves banning stuff.
That doesn't affect you.
It's got so many
right,
connotations that are
Austria separate.
No.
Oh yeah, I guess it wouldn't. So
it usually doesn't. There's some super rare exceptions where the publisher is basically just like German-speaking nations all the same.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Like where they go by the language versus. I
was thinking about location. Wolfenstein, how they, they did some censorship. Did that also hit you guys?
That was, that was the German version.
Didn't on Wolfenstein too? I swear to God, this was worse. Because if I remember right, Tool in our Discord showed me some Wolfenstein stuff where it changed the design, but it also did something with his face, and it was even more noticeable. Yeah, it was like that was probably your worst choice.
They renamed him just to the Chancellor.
The Chancellor.
And removed his beard, because then you have no idea who he is.
Wow.
I say leave him up so we can shoot him more often. Like, so
and especially in that game with that scene, he was already painted like a bumbling idiot.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. And Sniper Elite. Every single Sniper Elite has one DLC that is shoot Hitler in the nuts. Like that's
right.
They've built. It has to be the top, dude. It has to be the top selling DLC of all time because every single sniper game seems to have. They're always like a goofy name. I can't remember what it is, but you're always going after him in one of those DLCs, and it's usually day one that you can get that DLC as well. So, it makes sense why Wolfenstein is censored in Germany. To be fair, see, I don't think so because I mean, if they're a bad guy, they're a bad guy, like. But see, I know that, I mean, obviously they've had more troubles because of the history, but it's like, it feels to me, if you know that the bad guy is there, then changing it, but still having it there is odd to me. But unless he's saying that they sent, he said censor. He didn't say cancel or not able to buy.
Obviously, it's a sensitive, historic thing, but the game is not glorifying that character or anything. It's
No.
it's
Quite the
completely the
contrary.
opposite.
No, it's completely, yeah.
You're murdering those guys. They're, like Reg says, they're kind of painted in a horrible light.
Oh, here we go. What's up, the brothers here? We've had them on, Tress Brothers. They say, we're getting ready to do a translation for Cyber Knights. That's complex enough. Knock on wood. We never have to deal with country-specific content changes.
There you go.
Yeah. Not Bone Totem. That's a movie. What are those guys? They've come on the podcast too. There's another developer group. I think they're in Africa, and they were also talking about the differences and having to like navigate. Sorry, the different areas where you want to put these titles. And it seems to me when it comes to the developer, what bothers me is there wasn't one massive payout. It's always because you see that kind of stuff happen a lot, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, they're canceling whatever. You're not going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever. You're not going to get paid, but that money should be paid and then the account, or or they give you a date. See, that's the other thing. This is what Patreon did when they fucked me over. We were I think it was like, if I remember right, Jim Sterling and then myself for the largest at the time, because like Colin hadn't started his Patreon, but I believe we were the second largest patron for video games. And in the middle of the night, Patreon not only banned 3 people that were on Patreon, which caused us to lose, I think, like 3,000 people. They were all really nice. They were like, I'm leaving but then not less than 2 years later, they switched and adjusted the way in which the fees were done without telling anybody, which then we lost another 2,000. And rightfully so, those people should leave. I have no issue with that. Like, I was never mad at those. They were like, listen, they're not telling people stuff. They're not giving any time. Patreon's got a little bit better. They're still pretty shit at almost everything. 99% of what they do, other than having a website, is dog shit. And yes, I'm saying this as somebody who uses their site. They are pretty fucking terrible. It feels like the Japanese developers should have been given a month or 2 months, and then maybe given that would be against the law if you said, here's some help on moving your account somewhere else. But now that I think about it, but I don't know. I get mad about it. The idea that somebody has these kind of things, money in the back, it just bothers me. Leuston says, my fee changed on Patreon a few years ago with no warning. Yeah, I believe they changed it back, but trust me, those 2 things absolutely were devastating to me. And I'm small change. I mean, some of these developers, I'm sure, have a bunch of money in. Hopefully they were taking it out, because I'm assuming there's automatic payouts, right, for a developer. Do you know, Reg, or do they not hold money in Steam? They just pay you once a month, I'm assuming, for whatever your income is?
I don't know. No, I simply don't know.
Well, that sucks, man. All right, what else do we got, Johnny?
So I was tracking Citizen Sleeper 2 that came out today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's currently got a whopping 10 reviews on Steam. Currently sitting at positive. But yeah, it's just funny. It's got 10 reviews. I mean, it's just come out, right? The game. So haven't seen much like in-depth analysis or anything. But it looked really cool. This is a game that I thought, like, stylistically looked very interesting to me. Is this something you guys are going to check out? Or maybe Carrick, are you planning on covering this?
I've already beat it. Yeah, I had it for review. The big problem was I was doing the Eternal Strands thing, sort of screwed up multiple plans I had. So here's the thing. Bitlerus told me that it was, so I had played a little bit, and Bitlerus was in one of our chats, and he said you should play number 1. So I played all the way through number 1. And I played number 2. It's the same exact kind of style of game. It is basically a cyberpunk visual novel. They're glacial as shit. You have to be prepared. They're glacial.
Oh.
They make some visual novels appear to be really fast. However, it's got a mechanism for dice rolling and mechanics that's cool. And so there's an interaction that some visual novels don't really have, other than maybe choice. Reg and I do a lot of there's the werewolf ones
choice
that have
games.
choice of games that have a little bit of that interaction. Citizen Sleeper 2, I think if I saw this morning, is at 91% on Metacritic. It's very high.
Cool.
It's well worth that. but it is well worth that for that. If you do not like these kind of games, or if you are thinking this might be your first game, pause yourself and go check a couple reviews, because it really is a visual novel style of game. And and there is there was one time where I swear to God my thumb got a little tired hitting the button. And just I was like
pressing forward.
Yes, just as the guy, and there's no narrative. This is not like Disco Elysium where they replace the narrator, and it's not that kind of writing. You know how Disco Elysium was like, there was something very highfalutin about it. It was very thick prose. That's not this. It's more of a depressing cyberpunkish dystopian which can be a little
perfect
weary. It can make you a little weary, but very, very enjoyable. Very, like, if you know what it's offering. SBZ, $2 super chat. Anyone here getting a 5090? Buy, wait, or never touch? Yeah, that's a good question. Bitler says, it's slow, but I find it captivating for some reason. So did I. You just have to, really know what it is.
Yeah, that's good to know. I didn't know it was that heavy on the narrative.
By the way, it's not like Dragon Ball where you hit and it's like, I will fight you. This is like fucking that much, and you're all okay. And then you hit it again, and it's like, and it fills up a full page again.
Ruthless.
You're like, yeah. What else you got in the news?
I think really that's about it. KCD's coming out in a few days. I'm pretty excited for that. And I was doing a little bit of catching up back on the story. If people want, there are some pretty good summary videos,
including their own now.
Oh, really? They have
one today or yesterday. Yep. The Henry's story up until now, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Reg, are you doing this one?
Which one?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
That one. I'm interested, but I didn't finish the first one, so that's the main hesitation part.
Yeah. And they've been clear that they've improved the engine and stuff, but this is the continuation of this story, so it's not like
there you go.
Yeah. It's not like you're going to be playing it going, it's a rhythm-based fucking guitar game. It's not. It's exactly what you think it is.
No, I mean, if it was a completely disconnected story or something, then you could say, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't play the first one, but no.
Knucklehead says, what game has a shoehorned in multiplayer mode that you actually enjoyed? He says examples include AC Brotherhood. That's a good.
There you go. I was gonna say Assassin's Creed as well.
Me too. It's absolutely not supposed to be good.
Yeah.
That multiplayer, primo. What about you, Johnny?
Like mini games?
No, it's a multiplayer that feels like sort of shoehorned in. Like it didn't really need to be in. Like Mass Effect had a multiplayer. I'm not saying is the same example. Dragon Age.
Okay.
So is there a game where you're like, there's a multiplayer in this?
Now the AC reference makes complete sense. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I think Naughty Dog had one for Uncharted. I don't know if it was Uncharted 4.
They say Uncharted 2 and 3 as examples. So 2 and 3 had it.
Maybe those. Yeah, it was definitely tacked on,
Yeah.
You could get in there and shoot each other, but it was very basic.
And you enjoyed it, though, regardless of that.
Kind of, because I was really into the game.
Okay, but his question is that you really enjoyed.
Oh, something I really enjoyed, though.
Okay, he gives some examples. Let me see if any of these jog your memory. AC Brotherhood, which is what we were going to choose. Last of Us, somebody said BioShock's got it. Mass Effect, God of War Ascension, Uncharted 2 and 3, Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5, Doom 2016. I don't know why he said Doom, because I feel like it multiplayer. I mean, I guess it did feel lean in 2016. Those were some examples.
Okay.
Anything?
I still remember that mech game we played, Reg.
Oh my God, I already
Mech
know
Warrior
what you're
5.
Yeah.
It was very clumsily done how they did the co-op, but once we actually got in, it was, really good, basically. But it was clumsy, took ages to get going. And
Reg, did you and I do Ghost?
Yes.
With Silver
I played
Johnny?
with you and Silver, I believe, as well.
I feel like that could be considered tacked in somewhat and was
It
enjoyable.
was its own like standalone, so at least there's that.
I don't know. I was kind of thinking of that one, but there was so much put into that. I think that it's.
Oh, you know what? You mean their work put like stuff that you could. Yeah, you are right.
Didn't feel like something that qualifies as tacked on.
Yeah.
That's not fair. Yeah. I now I get. Ooh, Making Shift says Lost Planet. Jesus Christ, you guys are old. I love it. This is all stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lost Planet. We're talking like, I believe that was around World War II times. And then Metal Gear Online was peak. Sector says. I don't think I ever played that. Dead Space 2 multiplayer was interesting, Vapor says. I also don't remember that one. I don't think I did Dead Space 2's multiplayer. 3 had co-op, right? Dead Space 3, I think that was the problem with Dead Space 3.
I believe so.
Then Kel says, the teaser for Mass Effect 4's teaser was released 4 years ago. 4 years? Okay, that's definitely a soft reboot then on Mass Effect. I thought it was 2 years ago. In light of BioWare's recent announcement regarding staff reductions, and the same announcement indicates ME4 is still in pre-production, do you guys actually think BioWare will have that opportunity to completely finish and release the game? If yes, do you think they'll have it ready for release before 2030? That is not a joke, by the way. He is actually correct on that number, because that would be only 5 years.
If we're back to square one.
If we're back to square one.
True.
Yeah.
I think what he's getting at is I consistently see people saying that they're waiting for BioWare to be shut down by EA. And I can't say what that would entail, but you actually do believe there's that would be something, Reg, like a possibility for BioWare because of all their issues?
EA loves shutting studios down after they suck them dry, so.
Yeah, and there's...
Wow, that's some imagery.
Can I point out something, too? When we started the podcast 7 years ago, I think one of the first things that we said and sort of gained traction was that BioWare is not the same BioWare. We can now say BioWare is not the same BioWare that wasn't the same BioWare.
Right.
Yep.
Is that
like two generations apart now?
It is. It is. And now, technically, when they ramp up, it will be a third, which is...
Damn.
So I guess Reg is right on that. I think 2030 is... If they want it to be done right, is actually safe. If not, I don't even want to say.
So we don't
too
think
short, but
2026 is even in the cards, right? For this,
in this reality,
for Mass Effect.
No. 2020. We're in 2025. That would be next year. Unless it's
next
a
year?
puzzle game. No.
It's a
Dude, I love, man, I love your optimism is why I'm here every Friday. Like, what the fuck? Next year?
Maybe the game is just almost ready, so they don't need as many people.
They said it's oh my God.
But man, I mean, come on. Now so many AI things are out. It's gotta be next year.
Yeah, next year.
Oh my God!
Just hit a couple buttons,
dude. Don't talk that into being right now. Don't talk that, Reg. That is not. EA has stated very clearly they're looking towards that stuff. It would be moving on. I did want to say real quick, the Marvel star who was in Immortals. He's sort of I think if I remember right, he was in a bunch of stuff that was originally like native Asian language, and then moved to or became big, like largely popular when he did Immortals on I think it was Marvel. His name, I can't pronounce his name. I think it's Simu Liu, I believe his name. He stated on Twitter he's working with the rights holders to bring Sleeping Dogs to the big screen. Now, let me tell you. That would be a movie I would love to see because it already had movie stars in the game. You had your Emma Watson, no, not Emma Watson, the other one, from Amazing Spider-Man. Damn, I can't remember her name, the actress. But anyway, she was an Amazing Spider-Man. You had a lot of the big big Asian stars. I believe you also had, if it wasn't Kelly Hu, it was another one that was in there. They had some fairly big stars, and Sleeping Dogs did a really good job with the voice. I think it sort of fits as a movie, especially now. I could see it. I think that would, personally, I would love to see a Sleeping Dogs. Emma Stone, thank you very much, guys.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And I would, I'd be all for that. Unfortunately, that's all he says. He's just working with rights holders. As a guy who has been in a couple big movies, it's completely possible that maybe he can shine some light on that. Oh, here's what else he says. First a movie, then a game. He says, it's always been my dream, but it would be first a movie, then a sequel to the game. So, hey, if you guys hear him talking or needing help and support on Twitter and that pops up, make sure you retweet. The next up is Phil Spencer talking about Xbox's value. We got that one pretty much already taken care of. He was just talking about the future. Gaming Guitar says, I enjoy when I play games that hook me in right away from the start and keep me playing. Do you have any tips for finding games like that? Ooh. For finding games? For how would you identify games that...
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think in a way, not to be Buddhist, but you have to look within yourself. In a way. You have to...
What is happening right now?
The answer is within, Carrick. Okay? You do some introspection.
Okay.
Figure out what are things that have worked to grab you in the past. Is it a really thick narrative? It's maybe a subgenre. You know, it could be like the cyberpunk vibe is something you really like and that keeps you interested.
Yeah.
It could be maybe, you know, like fast combat or turn-based combat, you know, like figure out what are things that have worked in the past for you and then try something similar. That's, I think, the best any of us can do is just like know really well what you're into. And if you don't yet, then it's all good. Just experiment a bunch, right? Like play a bunch of Game Pass games maybe and try to identify common things that really work for you.
Yeah. Which I feel works with any game, even the ones that wouldn't grab you right away. I think the thing that confused me is asking how to identify how to identify a game that would click right away, because I know what he's talking about. I think we all do, where there's that game that you turn on and within a couple Disco Elysium, there was a sense of like mystery and awe. So I would say, like Johnny said, find the things that like speed. Is it action? Is it what have you? But that's not going to work anyway, because how many games have we seen where there's other issues with the title? But
yeah,
the best is to know yourself and what you like Johnny said.
That can be a good heuristic, but then you will find sometimes that something that on paper is similar doesn't hit you the same way, right? Like you said, Disco, it had something pretty special. So you might find a similar game, but doesn't really.
And then Plague of Souls says, how do you guys like your racing or driving games? Chaotic, explosion-filled destruction at every sharp turn, or simulation, close to real-life driving experiences with real, authentic vehicles? Give some examples.
Neither. I definitely not explosions at every turn, but freedom and arcadiness.
So Forza Horizon.
Yeah, Forza Horizon. Definitely Forza Horizon 1,000 times over the regular Forzas.
Yeah. I mean, I love simulation racing games, but there's a barrier of mental entry that I have to be prepared for. I don't have to be prepared for Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
At all. And they're usually generic fun. I wouldn't say explosions, but you'd have your crashes and they're chaotic. And the freedom of Forza Horizon, which I think I'm sure I bitched about a bunch when they announced it. I was like, how are you going to choose to race somebody anywhere in the game? Obviously, they are developers, and I am not, because what they did worked really well. So, yeah, I would agree. I'm pretty much with Reg. I mean, I don't like them super arcadey, though. I mean, I do, but they don't hold my interest as long. If they're if they're just turbo all the time. I don't know about you guys. I'm not a Mario Kart fan either. Like, I can't.
I mean, I like my Mario Kart.
Are you a Mario Kart? See, I've had a really hard time with those. I don't know why. What about you, Johnny? What grabs you first?
I'm solidly on the arcade side as well for fun. I love customization is a big thing for me on my cars.
Okay.
I've been sort of solidly on the Need for Speed camp. Those are usually games that I enjoy. And they are maybe a bit too much, like you're saying, you're just hitting the turbo all the time, right? It's maybe a bit too much in some of them. But overall, I would say those have a good mix of customization and giving you a little bit of something to work towards. Some of them have a story. They have been hit or miss, let's be clear. But stuff like Most Wanted really hit the mark for me. And then there have been a couple that have been really good, others not so much. But
Burnout Paradise was phenomenal. I think
Yeah.
Burnout games are fairly good. I also don't consider Burnout games, they're arcadey, but they're not as bad as even what I was talking about when I meant arcade. I think those are fine. Master Stoner 99 says, do you guys have a game that you come back to like a traditional palate cleanser? For example, people watch Die Hard every Christmas. For me, it's Star Wars Empire at War. I think we talked, I think this question, I think two people asked, because we were talking about a game that we returned to, and I said Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And then you guys were saying, I can't remember what game, League of Legends. I know Johnny had mentioned.
Sure. Yeah.
And palate cleanser, I don't really have never really it's not believed in, but I don't really need one, I guess. For the
I think No Man's Sky has been that for me, because I do sometimes, like before a big game hits, I like to just like chill in there. And similarly, SnowRunner is that type of thing too.
Yeah.
Where I'll go in, it's not difficult to remember how to play. You know, you can kind of go in directly and
that's fair.
And chill out in those games, and then maybe get ready for the next big one.
And then last here says Master Paz says looks like Sony DMC and Bloodborne patches, which we did talk about. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to talk to Reg a little bit about this AI. So DeepSeek comes out. And you've tested it. This is the AI that was supposedly using like OpenAI's data as well as their own training sets and stuff. What did you think of it overall?
While it's working, because the website was down for quite a bit. I think the quality is not amazing in that it's not better than others have managed. But it's pretty much on par, and it's on par for free, which is the difference really. There are smaller models you can download there, but they're using there's the Qwen base and the Llama base. You can pick between those two. The full one you can't run at home unless you have a couple 10,000 grants to pump into hardware.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is that the quality is decent for free, which is pretty good. But I did also try a lot of other AIs, and one of them is also Gemini 2, the Google one. That's currently also available for free, at least in their testing period. And the major advantage of that one is that it has 2 million tokens.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So you can mess around.
Like you can actually just dump pretty much a complete code base into there.
And that's say, Gemini 2.
Stuff. Yeah.
The one thing I noticed, man, so I go in to test DeepSeek. I was doing this yesterday. That thing got in an argument with me that CDs, the CD rewritables, and books were 2D objects and not 3D objects. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's a 3D object. No, a book is a 2D object. And I'm like, I don't even understand what we're talking. Like, are we mistaking one another? And I think you hear about distillation, taking data from another to make your thing. So we've joked about a copy of a copy. That is what I got from this one, was that, yes, it's free, but I was getting some very weird responses on normal stuff that felt like there was this overarching thing that was going on. Almost felt like 2 or 3 things. What I do like about it is it would tell you what it was thinking to give you the answer. I did realize that after a small amount of time, I was like, all right, whatever. It's pretty much doing exactly what I think it's doing. It's also somewhat replicated in deep research on Gemini as well. The Gemini option for deep research, which is fantastic if you're trying to like come up with discussions here like Johnny and I do about science or something like that. That stuff's great. But it was hilarious. I mean, that thing would not let go. And it tried to remind me. We were later, and it's like, well, a book being a 2D object. I'm like, we're not talking about that anymore. We've moved on to like black holes. Why do you keep saying it? It was weird in that way. But didn't Alibaba release one? Or not Alibaba, AliExpress, or one of the big
Tencent released a 3D model one.
A 3D model one. Okay. I thought one of the larger online digital stores released a big one too. I thought, but there were so many released in a 3-day period there. Like,
Okay, I asked it, and it's only right now your example. It says only a digital book exists in a 2D file on an image on the screen. A regular physical book is three-dimensional.
see, thank you. So, and I'm sure that it had something to do with how you ask the question and
Yeah.
when it decides on the answer. But it was funny, and so that people know why we talk about AI on this is because despite my distaste for like how it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just looked it up. You're right. They are the Gwen people, the Alibaba.
They are okay. They did release one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's because when you look at how they're being used, they are going to be used for sure. We are like, even if let's say United States and all of UK decided they weren't going to use it, everybody else would just switch and go somewhere else and use it. So I think it's actually insanely important to be aware of it, including as somebody who's going to be reviewing games, understanding when it's AI voice. Which, by the way, I've heard AI voice since I was a little kid when I was playing my Apple IIe and they use synthesizers. So it's something that, for a while there was this cusp of where there was all synthesized voice. Then it went to CD and you had real voices. And now we're getting to not real voices, but still created by the PC. You know what I mean? We're getting this weird moment where it's like, what's okay, what's not okay. Obviously, you don't want to steal somebody's voice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to do. But I always think it's really impressive to be on top of stuff and be able to understand it and talk about it. And Reg and I are always messing around with like the one cool thing I saw was taking a 2D picture, and he does this a lot, and turning it into a 3D model.
Yep.
That's cool because let's say you take the 2D picture and you don't get that via AI, but you have your artist draw it. And then they're able to, and by the way, I'm not talking about a AAA company here. I'm talking about somebody who's sitting in their house and they want to make a game. If they're able to do that, man, like that's where we get into some really like deep questions of like what is okay or what people are going to be okay with. At least at prototyping, I like the idea.
Was that the Adobe thing, turning a 2D into
not just
3D?
Adobe? Right, Reg? I think there's many companies that have online websites for uploading pictures.
The current or one of the newest 3D model generators that I saw is from Tencent, which I mean is very unsurprising because
Tencent
pretty much exactly into their core business to get those models.
Yeah.
It worked mixed, so it needs art that has like 3D like shading to it.
Okay, that makes sense. That was going to be my question. So almost like a depth in the art.
Yeah.
So
it needs, even if it's a 2D image, it needs to have something where it can interpret how deep the image
like
goes.
layers
From that,
in a way.
Shading, just shading. You can do it with shading. Yeah.
Okay.
Flat image is just a heap of nonsense that comes out, but if it has shading, then yeah, it's pretty decent.
Speaking of a heap of nonsense, let's talk about Sora. Dude, I was messing with that this weekend again to see if it's been improved. It is a disaster. It is awesome. If you guys want some humor, go check out Sora's video creator. What is it, 7 seconds? 10? I think it's 5 or 10 seconds you can do. Is
it free or do you have to pay?
I think you just need a Google account maybe because I didn't pay.
Cool.
Sora is not the Google one.
Sora's OpenAI. Sorry. Yeah, so I didn't pay for sure then. But I did get a restriction pretty quick on what because it said like I'm in a queue or something. I can't remember, but let me tell you something, Johnny. It lets you create 5 or 10 second videos. The 5-second video, 5 seconds, was so broken that it was astonishing in its monstrousness. It created some of the most grotesque things from some of the most normal situations. There was a girl dancing, and I think she was supposed to be a ballet dancer, and like feet are coming out of her head, and like she's flipping around, her back is bending, and it looked like demon stuff. It is so bad it is such a regression compared to all of the other ones, and the other ones aren't great. Even like some of the ones that are touted as being, being great, they take a long time to get anything usable out of them. There's a guy I know who does online. He does the like sci-fi looking movies that you see. So he'll do a movie trailer, but it'll be in this sci-fi 1970s aesthetic. So it'll be like, let's say, The Rock or Transformers, but it'll look like it's from the 1970s. It'll have that
Okay, yeah,
gossamer
I've seen
look.
that. Yeah.
And the people who are doing that are saying like hours upon hours for a 10-second, and those are like, you know, can be upwards of like 6 or 7 minutes. So it's a ton of work. But
So one cool
crazy.
thing there is that some of those monstrosities that I've seen some clips too, it's like a human can't even think of that in a way. Like you actually need that to be generated. Like some of that stuff is just makes no sense.
If you want to create demons for your D&D game, just go there and type anything. I typed in polar bear fighting water. I did a lot of what are those the fucking not a Wolverine, the other one, the ones that honey badger. I typed in like man fighting honey badger, small child fighting honey badger fighting polar bear, and that honey badger 9 times out of 10 transformed into the creature and then burst out of him like some kind of alien movie. It was just, it's a disaster.
Wow.
It's so good. It's so good for pure humor, man.
It's
so
funny
good.
too because they were showing these incredible like videos. Like remember a lot of people covered this, you know, MKBHD. Like these were the initial like Sora demos that they showed.
Yeah.
And obviously they were very cherry picked.
I mean, I feel like, I don't know, Reg, I haven't even seen displays on their front page that look good. I swear to God, I would almost assume that those were not even cherry picked and that they were somehow using admin powers behind the scenes, because I haven't seen anybody come up with anything that they showed in their like trailers for it. Nothing. And you can see all the entries. Sorry, go ahead, Reg.
I mean, I think I might be wrong on that, but I think the one that's publicly accessible is still the light version, so the stupid version.
Okay, so technically the step down version may have maybe some less. Yeah, okay. All right, that makes sense. What else do we got before we wrap it up? By the way, guys, if you guys want, you can always come to the Patreon where we continue these kind of discussions, and I mean these exact kind of discussions in our Patreon. So if you want highfalutin conversation, it may not be the place, but I'm just joking. We do that too occasionally, as long as I'm not there.
Yeah,
so you want to help out the channel.
Two things, okay.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Go for
it. Two things still about the AI thing. One is all those thinking models that output their text about what they're thinking, in quotation marks. You can copy paste that and throw that into any other AI, and you will get a similar final response.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. They're basically just prompting.
Mm-hmm.
They're reprompting whatever you gave them, and then that's the actual prompt. And the other one is, I think the most interesting part out of the DeepSeek thing is the reinforcement training in action that you've seen now in much, much smaller models, like the size that can run on a cell phone, where that's also improving the quality of what they can do quite a bit.
So, Screven asked everybody in the ChatGPT thread today, like, what's your best output? You know, if you got something that's close to a novel. And I do a lot of very specific stuff I've learned about double feeding AI to get it to do specific things, and have found massive improvements with that in particular. And then also a couple people who have a weird way of talking to the AI that looks nothing, including math and some and that has really improved. I've got some stuff that's pretty legit, like, whoa, that's pretty incredible. But how long do you think until, ignore the AGI thing, because I think that's just bull. In fact, I'm wondering if Transformer can get there. But if you look at how long do you think it'll be before, let's say, you can get 50 pages that doesn't resurrect a character out of the blue? And because I think the big problem is memory. There's something about the memory, right? Even with the these new models, it's not hallucinations.
I think it was a Google white paper or something where they're describing ways of how they're gonna go about having actual long-term memory to those models
without like just buying more hardware. You mean like some programming? Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like actually learning, like remembering stuff you tell it instead of just
yeah.
Because dude, it was great. It was doing a solo D&D game for me, and then it was like, you know, Picard walks back in, and I'm like, fucking Picard, what? Like, he got vaporized. You know, what are you talking about? And it wasn't, what's weird is you hear these hallucination things, you certainly get wrong answers. This wasn't a hallucination as much as it just forgot that one thing, and then he moved forward. And so it wasn't like he's a demon or anything. It knew everything about him. It was just that it forgot he died. And I was like, that's odd.
That reminds me, a friend of mine who lives in France said France apparently also tried to build their own AI, and it was super dumb.
Oh, really?
It's like it was. He gave some examples, like it telling people that cows lay eggs and stuff like that.
Dude. Remember when it first came out, you would hear it, like people would ask a question, it would start getting weird and say some really rough things, you know, like I think it told somebody that, you know, you should jump off a bridge or whatever, like it was doing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you train shit on Reddit, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, true. That was the Google AI thing, which, by the way, I don't think is live here still. We still have the classic Google search.
Oh, you mean the AI in the browser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't one of those things also like, yeah, you can totally survive a jump out of the airplane without a parachute.
Yeah. And it was also saying things like adding rocks to your pizza to make it crunchier and stuff. And you're like, well, I mean, it would.
Doctors recommend you have your weekly dose of pebbles.
Yeah, there were some oddities there. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? Anybody in chat, if you have anything else that you want us to talk about real quick? I did see that Dr. Disrespect's old company, because he left during all of the stuff that went around about him, they closed down as well. So, and I think from what I understand, for a second, it sounded like they were talking about it, working on another game, but I think they were just referencing their own game. Sounds like they have completely, unfortunately, evaporated as well, which just feels like every day we wake up, there's like somebody.
Yeah. A couple things. One, during the week when NVIDIA's stock dropped, right? Because of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I reached out to Reg and I thought, I got a bit of news for Reg. I'm going to catch him. And it was adorable because just the innocence of me thinking I would provide news to Reg about AI. He's like, son, please. I was there in the inception, the inception.
You were merely born to it. That's exactly the way I was. I had people being like, did you hear blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, here, it literally pops up right on my, like, it's the first thing you see. And it was a big deal because it came right after they talked about the new cards.
No, I think it was extra funny because I overall don't speak too much unless I think I have something to say. Johnny sent me a link and I think I sent him paragraphs of text back.
He gave me so much data and I was like, holy shit, man. Okay. Let me set aside an hour to go through.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment in time, but it's already starting to recover too. I mean, it's like, you know.
And that made me think like about the, some of these old ideas like the Turing test, the Chinese room experiment, right? So the Turing test was to measure human-like intelligence in systems. And I think that's been, we've blown past that already.
Or we've adjusted it up, which has happened, I think they said 4 times now, where it hits something close and they're like, well, let's move it up a little bit. Let's move it up.
Yeah. So is there now a certain test, like maybe it is the AGI thing you're talking about? I don't know if we have like a specific thing we could test it on.
One of my favorite tests for AI is, what was it? Humanity's Last Exam.
Yes, I've heard
just
about
because
this.
Of the title.
I mean, so is the implication that like when the AGI passes that exam, there's no further exam, we're done, we're screwed?
I think that's the humorous look of it. The thing is, it's a test suit with expert level knowledge in different areas. And the current AIs don't pass the 10% mark right now.
Okay.
What does a normal person pass?
Yeah, probably not the 10% mark.
Probably not.
That's true, dude. Yeah, it's already better. But if you put like the Chinese room experiment where you have a room and you're like communicating from the outside, and can you tell whether what's on the inside of the room is a machine or a human? I might be butchering the experiment. I think it was something along those lines. But like right now, if you had something similar with some of the modern models and, you're chatting back and forth, you guys think that you can still tell pretty easily that you're talking to a model?
If the person doesn't have general knowledge of you personally, I wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, you can, so because of our low expectations of humans in the last decade as people and as response as a CSR, let's say, for a company, you can see a CSR who's a real person type in an FAQ and you're like, this can't be a person. You find out, no, their job is to type in an FAQ, right? So that can be difficult. You can get it. You can say how many R's are in strawberry and you would catch ChatGPT. You wouldn't catch some of the new ones. There's certain things you can ask, but would you ask it outside of that test? If you're talking about where you're able to sit down and you're able to ask it anything, you could probably tell fairly quickly, or you'd go, something's up. But here's the big problem. Many of us don't have knowledge outside of 5 or 6 things that's considered high level, maybe one master, and then maybe one master, if not, and then general, and we have a tendency to over assume our own intelligence. We all do. Like, we all do. We all say, oh, I've heard this, so therefore I'll say it. But I would say you'd be, after a particular amount of time, you'd be able to pick it apart. What has worked for me every time and has flummoxed every single AI to a T, destroyed it. Give it the end of a puzzle and tell it to create a puzzle that's more than 5 or 6 steps, where that sequence, that ending result makes sense at the starting. And it doesn't matter if it's numbers or physical objects. A person, even a young person, like who isn't world knowledgeable, can be like, okay, I got an idea. We're going to put this here. We're going to put this here. Then you need to move those, make them here to get you through a slot, which makes blah, blah, blah. AI will just lose its shit. And as somebody who's always messing with D&D stuff, I can tell you I test that all the time, and it makes no sense. You'll be on the first or second step, and you'll be like, how did it get a sledgehammer? I never mentions. And that's because it stops thinking outside of the box that you've given it pretty quickly. It'll start adding shit because it's trying to answer. And remember, AI has to be told to be mean. So when you ask it a question, it'll add stuff because it wants its desire, we'll say, is to appease you.
Yeah.
So it will try to get you to wherever you are. And dude, to really get a good amount of data from it, you have to actually, there's a script I have that is quite long that tells it to be a dick. And it has to be reinforced a couple times because it'll start going, I'll be like, how's this sound? Great. And I'll be like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So you type in the script, you put that script in, it'll be like, actually, this is missing this doesn't make sense. Okay, great. So then you start working, and after a small amount of time, it'll start going, this is exciting, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, I don't want that. I want, so I think that's how you can tell, is usually where it tries to step out of bounds to help you.
That's how you get them.
And it seems programmed in at a deep level. Like at a deep level, its programming is to like not say those negative things we joked about being said earlier. And you almost get the reverse. You know how you've had a friend who you wish had been a little mean one day? That's AI sometimes, where you're like, I wish you would just, if you say this is good, and I'm looking at it going, that is horrendous. Like, why are you saying that? I need this. And you have to inform it. I think we're a ways off, man. I don't know if Transformers are even it. Like, it feels to me like we're bumping up against, it's honestly, sometimes, guys, it feels like it's just a front end for a massive library, and it's better at searching than other libraries have been. And I like it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is there a sense in which we are doing that? So like when you talk to me, it's almost like you're giving me a prompt and I am responding with words that I think follow well, or I'm trying to provide you a good output, and maybe you say, no, that's not exactly what I asked. Here's another prompt. And maybe I got a bit closer that time, Isn't it a bit?
No, because if I ask you, if I meet you day one and I say, what do you like? Those are based on your histories and your experiences. AI has none of that.
There you go.
The only way to have it, by the way, is how ChatGPT allows you to save your chats and save what it searched. It could technically create its own history with you, which is that all the stuff it's helped you with, that could be sort of its history. But it's not an NPC. It's not a person, so it doesn't have all of the things we have. It can't, like, even, do you like the color red? Which, by the way, I've never asked it. But it's like, it would make me interested to know what it would say and if it would even put its foot down. Or if it would pretend like it was putting its foot down, which is what my friends will do. I'll be like, You want to go get Chinese food? Yeah, Chinese food's okay. And you're like, dude, yes or fucking no, man. Just yes or no. Do you want Chinese food or do you not want Chinese food? AI will be all, red is a color that many like. And I'm like, that's not what I said.
It
I
will
wanted
tell
to
you
know
about the spectrum and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
And again, I don't know because I've never asked it that, but that's some of the answers I get seem to be the equivalent of like walking around the answer. But you could also just say make up a history for yourself. It's pretty good at like, you know, like coming up with its own little things. It's just you have to solidify it first. That's why when you talk to it, you have to be like, you are an editor. And by the way, if you say you're an editor and you leave it at that, it will literally only know that it's an editor. It will not know it's good. It knows what an editor is. So if you say you are a master editor, it will actually use different rules than if you say you're a novice editor or you are an editor. So when you tell it to be something, you have to be insanely exact on its level, or it'll be like, and it'll just give you some shit.
That's also been like, even with older models for a long time, my experience with translating stuff. You can give it text and say translate it, and it will translate it, but it's gonna sound translated. It's gonna sound a bit weird, like it's a too direct translation. However, if you tell it translate it into how a native speaker would say it, then it's already much better.
Wow.
But then I suppose if you said something like you're a fluent German language expert, and I need you to translate this English into that where it sounds like it's fully in German, it would do better than if you even just say, you know, translate this so it sounds correct slang wise. Yeah, you really have to.
Or for example, if you have something
crazy.
like Chinese or such, it's super important that you say it's like translate the cultural context.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy. That's great stuff, though. It's great stuff for people who want to learn about tech, because I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to affect all of us. I mean, shit, they have AI in headphones now to curb off, you know, like changes in how the audio sounds. They're doing all kinds of chips on stuff.
And even if it's not AI, it's just an algorithm. They're gonna call it AI, so it sounds better.
Dude, AI's in fucking everything. AI's in toasters. There was the AI planter you told me about, that, like, you know.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
And remember, it's like it can feed. I can't remember. It'll remind you to feed it. And I'm like, my damn Amazon device.
It detects what kind of plants you have planted, and then will water them in the appropriate levels and give them a right amount of sunlight.
Do you want to be as lazy as humanly possible? Here's your AI bed.
Exactly.
Okay. That is, we can end on this. This is crazy, though. Let me tell you where I think this could be phenomenal. We're already seeing it in one device. I'd like to see it in another. Fitbit/health devices. So people who snore, you get the Fitbits, which will vibrate, which supposedly might cause you to turn or might, you know, cause you to breathe. Right. There are beds that are being made and released where if you have all kinds of issues, it can track it. I think that is, to me, exciting as fuck. Because this is something, it's sort of sad to talk about, but there's SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. There's things where, like, a child, for reasons, you know, there's some reasons, but there's a lot of illnesses that parents have to really watch out for. What about fever? Like, all that kind of stuff? That shit would be awesome, where it was tracking and was, you know, could, like, catch things ahead of time. Or my parents are getting older. It's like, what about falls out of bed? My dad has sleep terrors, I guess is what you'd call them. And he broke his neck when he rolled out of bed. What if you had a bed that, like, noticed you were having those and gave you just a little bit of sound, a little bit of whatever, brings you out of REM for just a second, so that you don't have that movement that's involuntary that causes you to fucking have an injury that is there now for the rest of your life. Those kind of things, guys, is, I mean, yes, cancer and stuff, I can't wait to see those drugs and things. But because I use a Fitbit and I really do like it. It counts, you know, it'll count your steps. It's not accurate. You know, you can masturbate and probably it'll think you walked 60,000 steps, right?
At least with my watch, it's you writing the keyboard is sometimes enough for it.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go. So that kind of stuff, though, guys, that's exciting as shit to me for health, man. Diabetics, all those kind of things where those sensors, you know, we don't want things tracking us all the time. But what I'm talking about is people who are ill, or you're in a situation where you need to, you know, infants, you know, pull themselves out of their cribs, all these kind of things. And we have
Sleep apneas,
we have
all this
baby
type of
monitors,
stuff.
sleep apnea, which causes horrendous issues for people health-wise, blood pressure, that kind of shit, man. I'm all for that. You can buy into it, as in it's not going to be given to you by this is not like a government. I don't want it sanctioned by a government thing to get you better insurance. I'm talking about you as a consumer could get this kind of stuff, which might improve your quality of life without knowing you know, without sending your data somewhere or without you typing something in. I think that kind of shit's
the
awesome.
big one that I always think about is something in your watch that can tell you what effect the meal you just ate will have on you.
So, I don't know if I want.
For example,
what do you mean?
Yeah. So like you just ate some bullshit. I would love the watch to tell me, listen, like this had this percentage effect in some way that it can tell you.
You
know,
mean like it lowered your heart rate or raised it or
something like that.
You're burning more carbs or
right. Because what I find is that it's very easy for us to dissociate. So you can have a shitty meal and you won't feel like immediately bad.
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely. I get what you're saying.
So just having that kind of instant input of like, hey, just so you know, you fucked up. This meal was not okay, right? If you eat this again tomorrow and the day after, you're going to be in a bad spot. You know, I don't know. I'm just coming up with stuff.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
It should do that before you eat it. And every time you reach for it, it gives you a sap.
Yeah, dude. Dude, it got a lipo battery in it, so you reach for like that
it knows
extra
where
pork,
you have the snacks.
that extra
like,
pork rind.
Hey,
and it's like,
motherfucker, you just ate snacks.
Sleeve mentioned something I wanted to say, as long as you guys are okay for a second. He said, did you guys see the AI glasses for deaf folks? They detect spoken words and provide subtitles, and the glasses also confirms whether a word or sentence said by the wearer is correct. I also saw the blind one where it gives you audio of where a person is and where people are around. Sonar, basically, but a generic version of sonar and hearing aids put together. And here's the crazy thing: it can if you're blind, it can use Google Lens to tell you like what the person looks like, or what they're wearing, or if there's a dog in front of you. That kind of stuff right now is pretty basic, but still amazing. I've used Google Lens and been like, whoa, it knows my dog and that he's a mutt. It knew the top 3 types of dog my dog's genetic makeup is. The idea of that kind of stuff allowing for people to do shit that is very difficult or in some ways, I would say for a lot of people paralyzing, that shit's awesome. I also love the fact that if Reg was speaking German right now, that's your one of your second languages.
Yes.
Currently, you could use one of the devices to come very close to having 100%, as he did in Japan, 100%, back and forth. In a couple, not very long, we're going to get to the point to where it's your earbud and you are just talking in yours. It takes a millisecond, it translates to them. And the idea that people would be able to, this is so crazy. You would be able to marry somebody. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn their language. I'm just saying it opens up the doors to friendships and stuff. Because like Johnny had to learn better English when he first popped in, and because he was just getting started, or not just getting started, but he was getting accustomed to stupid people like me who talk really fast. And he was like, what the fuck is this guy saying? That ability for that translation, that's fucking awesome. Because do you know how many people don't want to go somewhere due to language? Probably 90%. Where they're like, I would love to go to wherever, but I don't speak the language. I would have to hire, and it's getting better and better. You can hire an old person in Japan, as Reg found, as a tour guide. But imagine in a couple years where...
For like $6 an hour or so.
Dude, it's... yeah. But that guy seemed like he checked out. He would be worth it. But yeah, this kind of stuff to me is...
I always think that for music playing, it would be amazing. If my glasses... When I look at the guitar neck, if it's telling me what note I'm playing, right? So this is a G on this string.
Yep.
And it could even tell you like, hey, in the scale you're in, highlight the notes that are in scale so that you know which notes belong in the scale you're playing.
I don't know if Reg has done this, but in VR, there are 2 or 3 piano apps that are legit right now on VR. And you sit at your fucking piano, it can look at the keys and go, this is your keyboard. It keeps the keyboard there. And then as the song goes down, it shows you exactly what and how long to play that key. Yes. And I've seen kids learning like that, like full songs, just because, you know, some of it's memory. They're not learning music theory. I understand that people, you probably would pick it up though, I feel. Just,
sure, but the muscle memory, the mechanics and everything.
dude, that shit's magic, man.
It's
That shit's
insane.
magic. I could pretend to play piano, and if I ever got divorced, pick up a chick and be like, hey man, I can play a song.
Well,
hang on, lady, I
because-
got to put my VR headset on. I'm just
Yeah, because there's always a barrier in these games like Rocksmith, where they
Yes.
show you something on screen. You need to parse that and translate it
Yep.
into the physical neck of the guitar. That's kind of like a mental process, and you get better at it over time, but that's still an added thing. If
Yeah.
you could just see it, you know, immediately, that would be
Dude,
insane.
it's going to be awesome. Is that it for us? We're at 3 hours. We can call
I think
it right
that's
now.
it.
All right. Well, yeah, we got excited there. That kind of stuff is why you will hear me be excited about this kind of thing. I don't want all of it, but these kind of devices and stuff, real-time translation for YouTube in the future, that's good and not the piece of shit it is now, because it's fucking horrendous, by the way. YouTube's I've seen their what do you call it, closed captions, and I'm like,
I don't know. They have Gemini and everything, and Google Translate is still such.
How is it still shit? Yeah, I don't
know.
understand. It's their stuff anyway. But the idea for people to be able to do that and for it to understand the idiosyncrasies, that to me is magic, because it opens up communication and like experiences that are well beyond what we have right now. To me, that's the exciting part. That's why I hope I live for just a couple more years. I'm crossing my fingers. If I can get 5 more years, I might be able to see Mass Effect and might be able to talk to people in other languages and not sound like a total heathen. That'll be it for us. Thank you, everybody. Johnny is at Johnny Plays, doing League of Legends, showing you how to play, basically, championship level. Esports have been contacting me even, because he's been turning down so many options. But, you know, we're trying to get, I'll be his manager, trying to get him signed up for League of Legends. Yeah.
Yep.
And he'll be streaming.
He's drinking his Gamer Fuel and whatever.
Yeah, he's got to drink
sponsors.
his. What is that one drink? Cocaine. One was called, I think, an energy drink. When's your next video?
So it's Monday to Friday. There's League videos, and then on my main channel, I'm also covering some games. Like the last one I did was the first Berserker, and I'll be covering more like the games we talk about on my main channel, and then we have the Johnny Plays, which is the League channel, Monday to Friday, new commentary.
Excellent. All right, and that'll be it for us. Thanks as always to Reg for showing up. Thanks to all you guys for listening to us this long. Peace out. Make sure to thumbs up the video when this gets done, and I would love for you to leave a comment. It actually does insanely help when the video is over to leave a comment. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.